Can you hear me? Blessing Blue Eyes, is everything hooked up okay? Can you hear me okay? Can you let me know? Because it looks kind of different. Okay, good. Okay, I got you. Thank you. Good deal. I just watched a crazy video and it says that there's a few people watching that are not chatting. And I hope you don't have to come out here and shut me up in a minute. I'm hoping that this jerk is watching and I borderline don't. Hey Tater, how are you? So good to see you here. You don't even know how much your message was soothing yesterday. I really needed it this week. It's been a super hard week. And I was thinking last night about exactly who you are. And I'm pretty sure that I remember you and your daughter both. And I'm so glad that you left that message. That's so comforting, especially this week because it's just so hard. But it's so comforting. So I can't thank you enough for that. It was pretty amazing. I'll forever be grateful for that. And I hope maybe I sent some messages out to, I don't want to say their names, but a handful of people about um, their side of, life after Cody, I call it. So I'm going to see what they say. Lee Marie, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Might get a little ugly in a minute. Um, yeah, it's so terrible. I know. I run into people. I started going back to motocross tracks a couple years ago on race days, and the people that I see, and they all have something good and positive to say about him. Every one, even on his bad days or his races that were not awesome, especially all those times that we believe this happened. Um, they all have something really good and positive to say about him and how positive he was and all the things that he did to help other people. And it is, it feels really good. It's like a gift, it's like a gift. So I appreciate it very much, so very much. And I'm sure I'll see you within the next year on race day, hopefully. I'm going to take a couple minutes to address something. I said I wasn't going to do this. I'm only going to do it once. I had an email about me. That was a video about me. It was a link to a video. I only watched a couple minutes of it, but um, I just want to be clear because my words were twisted. You can watch these videos that I put out, every one of them. You can transcribe them. You can read through them, but you can't change any of the words that have been said here. So you have a mole that's sending me tons of information about your plans to further investigate me, further investigate my son. I hope you know that it shows what a complete vile person that you are. I'm not in a community on YouTube. I'm not in a community. Um, I follow true crime for my own reason. I'm going to talk about that, and I hope that you're paying attention. But this bullshit that you keep putting out about me about my son because you're angry that I don't agree with you. It makes you the bad person. Um, you brought up a post that I had put on Facebook years ago where I talked about neighborhood kids after they egged, busted windows out of specific cars, threw bologna on cars and other gross food items, and they broke into cars and stole things. Let me be clear about this to the people that are using every little detail of everything that they can find, and I'm moving on from it. I don't owe you an explanation, or your little crew, your little posse of conspiracy morons. I don't owe any of you an explanation about anything. I didn't seek you out. You sought me out for your own narrative. And I'm sorry that it doesn't fit and that you're not right. You'll never be right about that. But let me be clear. The neighborhood kids that broke into our cars, mine, my neighbors, all of our cars, were 17, 18, and 19 years old. And you bet your ass, after they destroyed my son's car, my son's truck, my car, you bet your ass if I would have got my hands hold of them, I'd have beat the shit out of them. You bet your ass. And anybody who saw those screenshots and that stupid video, you also saw the other neighbors have the same opinions. They were on camera. There were arrests that were made. It's none of your business. I'm not a child abuser. I've never committed child abuse. I never would. So spin your ugly narrative. You make yourself look even more insane crazy. It's never going to fit. You're wrong. I'm sorry that you can't just accept that you're wrong, but you're very wrong. But let me be clear about something else. My son has never, ever done anything to deserve the shit that you say. You cannot change his memory. You cannot recreate time and change a narrative about who he was. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that can testify to that. So take your bullshit down another fucking avenue. You hear me? I hope that you're listening to me. You're barking up the wrong tree. Come for me. I don't really care. You're not going to affect me. Come for my son. It's a war you don't want. I promise you that. So I'm going to leave it alone from there. One last thing. I'll support whatever effing channel I want to. I don't owe you an explanation. I think that you're a little pissy because I never supported your channel. But I don't like conspiracy theorists, especially the crazy ones. What I said and what I commented was I will support those channels via Cash App. There's no hiding money from anybody. I'm not going to be targeted. I'm sorry it doesn't make sense to you. You have to spin everything into a conspiracy theorist. Bullshit propaganda. You barking up the wrong tree, my friend. Okay, so I'm sorry, but I just watched this video and it just, some people, I don't know. I don't know what, I mean, like, beat it down, you know, just go, go, go until somebody tells them that they're right or that they agree or, you know, gives them a booty pat or something. I'm never going to do it. Sorry about that, Peter. YouTube can be a pretty ugly place. Blushing Blue Eyes is here. She's my favorite human. Thank you, Salty C, for stopping in. I'm going to be really short tonight. I don't have, Lee Marie, I wish I knew. I mean, this just started off completely ugly, you know, and they don't understand. Show me the receipt. Show me the proof. I'm not showing you shit. Why would I show you other people's names or what they say so you can go after them? Like, heck no. Never. I don't owe you nothing. You know what you did. The email's been spread all over the place where y'all started looking into who I was months before you ever found me in Tiffany's chat. So, whatever. Oh, hell yeah. These people destroyed. There were, I don't even know how many. This was so long ago, I couldn't even tell you how many vehicles, but some people's insurance, you know, considered their vehicles totaled. But my son's truck, there's no reason for that. All because they want to change, like pocket change out of specific vehicles. But my car, my son's truck, by neighborhood teenagers, teens, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, You bet your ass. If I would have got hold of them, they'd have been black and blue. You bet your ass. If you want to spin that to some crazy whatever, go on. But the police didn't say anything about it. I mean, a cop lives right down the road. Think he has something to say? He didn't. Thank you so much, Tater. Thank you. He was he not? He was so respectable, and because he gave respect. I mean, and that was true at home. Those guys rub elbows and they beat the crap out of each other on the track. And there's a lot of smack talk at the gate. I'm sure you've heard it. And after the race, there's a lot of blame for who didn't win or who lost a position or who jumped a flag or any of those things. And if he was mad at somebody, he would tell them why he was mad or he would avoid them. But he was like that at home. He never came home and shit talked anybody. He respected anyone who gave the sport a try. And he would give his last pair of tear offs to somebody if they're new to the sport. That's why I still support motocross and I always will. It's so important to me. It was his whole life. I think I said it the first live stream that I did. If I could ask him right now, what's the one thing that you would want with you? I wish he would say, you, Mom. But he would say, I want my two-stroke. I want my Honda. I want my bike. That was his life. Started at 3 and it never stopped. Valerie, people are insane on here. They're absolutely insane. I'm not in a community. I mean, I watch specific channels I can relate to. I'm always going to support those channels, and it's really not anybody's business. Yeah, emergency. I'm sure you can relate, to that. People, absolutely. Cody is off limits. Children should be off limits. I've never attacked someone's child. Never would. It takes a real monster to attack someone's child. Granted, Cody was 21, but he's dead. He's never coming back to defend himself. Does it make you feel like a big, strong man to throw shit on his name or drag him through your mud? You're not going to change his memory. You're not going to do that. You're going to make yourself look like you want to lose your subscribers in your channel. Attack my son. Attack anyone's deceased child. And it's not about sympathy seeking or what's the bullshit term that you use? Whatever you say. It's stupid. You're dumb. Cody is so off limits. Valerie, I'm glad that you're here, Valerie. I probably wouldn't have been so mad if I wasn't sent the link and just watched it, but it just gets disgusting. It just gets to the point of what's the intention behind it so that you can be right? My son accomplished more in 21 years than you, the animal, has his whole life. I mean, I'm sorry that you failed epically at everything that you've ever tried and you resulted to hiding behind a blank screen, throwing hate and spewing vile, disgusting comments to everybody that doesn't agree with you or give you a kind little booty pat. You're not going to get one from me because you came at me ugly. People are very gross on here. Very, very, very gross. Nana 5, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. That feels good, Lee Marie. Thank you for that. I don't know what the goal or the agenda is, but I'm never gonna cower down ever. But it did prompt me to talk a little bit about how I found myself on this true crime on YouTube. I think I want to put a little context behind the things that have recently been put out, and so I know a couple people can relate to it, so I want to talk about it. Cody passed August 2016. Coming up in a couple days, it'll be the day of his funeral, which is harder for me. I'm not sure if everybody is like this, but the people I talk to, most people find the death date to be the most difficult to face every year. Just a lot of reminders, looking at the clock kind of thing. For me, it's the funeral. The day that they closed the casket, the last time that I could see him, and that's the hardest day for me. And I went to work. I went back to work shortly after that. Being on the railroad, I went back to work soon, probably sooner than what I should have, because it forced me to leave my house. It forced me to turn my phone off. It forced me to leave my home so I couldn't contact other people. I couldn't sit in this, house full of memories, and nobody could put pressure on me to do things that they wanted me to do, like go through his things and give them something. Um, so I went back to work. Have to turn my phone off when the train is moving. It's a long trip, across the road with a freight train. And initially, when I went back, I started going to a town. Well, I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the Delphi case, Abby and Libby, the two little girls on the Monon High Bridge that were brutally murdered. This was February 13th, 14th, 2017, so just a few months after, Cody's accident and death. And the place that I went to was called it's called Peru, Indiana, which is really close to Delphi. And there's a hotel there that the railroad kept us at. And I don't remember exactly when it was. It was a couple of days after they had found Abby and Libby. And I found a flyer about the murders. So we were all glued to the TV um, watching the news, trying to find out what had happened. And my next trip in, nobody knew. Nobody still knew what had happened. Nobody had been arrested. Nobody knew who did it. And there was another flyer that was put up in Peru at a grocery store that had the details, and it said, for more information, go to this YouTube channel. And it was Gray Hughes Investigates. So I got back to the dorm to my room, and I went to that YouTube channel. I was astounded that Gray had so much more information than what the local news was putting out. Gray had maps that gave context to the day that they were murdered. There was just so much more information that was on the YouTube channel. And after I watched one of Gray's really long episodes, I love Gray, but he's on forever. After I watched one, I noticed I got things accomplished, I got things done. My brain was kind of occupied with earbuds. And then, I had unpacked and laid stuff out for when I got called back out and taken a shower. And it's just like things that would take forever, for hours to do. So I went to bed that night, and I ended up putting on a previous show that Gray had done about those murders. And it gave me context. It made me feel like a very selfish person. Let me explain before you judge me. I was self-loathing, hating life. Anybody that was happy hated the sunshine. All the things that all of you feel about why did my son die. I mean, I hated the world. My house was dark and very lonely and quiet. And I went to work, but the hotel was the same. And I was working with people that wouldn't talk to me because they didn't know what to say. And it was just misery. And all of a sudden, Gray does. I still watch Gray all the time. I mean, if that's okay, do your thing. Do your thing. I don't expect, like a full chat or anything like that. I'm just really glad that you're here and listening. Um, the I'm not sure how to say that. The quiz. Let me know if that's wrong. Um, it gave me context. It made me feel like a very selfish person. I mean, it really put into perspective. Yes, I have the right to be angry and upset and pissed off and hate the whole world. I mean, I hated everybody. At the same point, here's a whole community. Two little girls on a day off from school that were doing normal things, normal kid things. They went walking on the trails, and a monster was in waiting, and he brutally murdered them and left their bodies, and nobody knows who did it. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm hating the whole world and everybody in it. I can't find any joy. I can't find happiness. I can't look at photos of my son. I looked in the mirror. I couldn't do it. I couldn't look in the mirror because look in the mirror was like, you're tasked with one job. You have one freaking job to keep your kid alive. You couldn't do that. And that started the self loathing. Did I deserve joy? Did I deserve happiness? I carried that for a while, for a long time. Sometimes I still carry it. But when I was listening to Gray talk about what happened with with Abby and Libby, and the first time the family members of Abby and Libby were on the TV, they looked so strong. They looked they looked devastated, but they looked strong, and the whole community was affected. And like here I am sitting at home whining like a bitch, hating the whole world, refusing to speak to people, blaming everybody, dropping weight, never know what time it is, what day it is. I just need to shower and repack until they called me to go back to work kind of thing. But at least I know how he died. I know how he died. Nobody hurt him. Nobody intentionally made the decision to hurt him or end his life. It was an accident. And I know what his last words were. I know I know all of those details. I was able to give him a beautiful funeral. All of the things that are the last things that we can do for our children whenever they die. These people have no idea what happened to these little girls. They don't know. They know allegedly what happened. They know what possibly happened, but they don't know. They don't know what happened or who did it. That's the worst. And then Delphi kind of went cold a little bit. And then it was Warren and Orson West from California City. And then it was like, how do I have the right to hate the whole world and not find joy and be this miserable when they don't even know where those babies are at? They don't know what happened to them. They don't know where they're at. And then it was Xavier Harrelson. And then it was Cash Vernon. And then it was Summer Wells. Summer Wells and Delphi I can't not follow because I have personal reasons for seeing those through. I'm not a sleuther. I'll never cover a true crime story. I'm not a true crime. I don't want anything to do with a genre or anything like that. But I have personal relations to the areas. So I want to see those through. I want to know what happened. I want to find, I want the day of justice to be seen. I want closure. There's never closure. For those of us watching, there's closure. But I never knew that there were genres or cliques or anything like that. What I knew was it gave me perspective and it kind of put me in my place. It kind of opened my eyes. I went from not being able to look in the mirror to, getting out of bed and being thankful that I knew how Cody died and I knew what his last words were and I knew who was with him and I knew he was singing Jesus Loved Me whenever he passes away, whenever he took his last breath. And that's so powerful to me. Nobody knows what Abby and Libby were thinking or what they were saying. Nobody knows what Xavier Harrelson was saying. Nobody knows what Cash Gurnett. Nobody knows what Summer Wells was saying. Nobody knows what any of these kids were saying. And it kind of holds me accountable. Even today, whenever I'm so, this week's so hard, I can lay down and give up. I can say, F it. Is there anything left to live for? Yes, there is. but at least I know what happened. I know what happened. I was able to do the absolute best thing I could do to say goodbye, to allow others to say goodbye to him. And I wouldn't change anything about the decisions that I made for those, the last things I could do for him. There's nothing I would change about those. Um, Creative Tater, I don't blame you one bit. I'm from Georgia originally, and I'm sure I'll make my way back at some point for a period of time, and I will look you up for sure. But I'm so glad that you shared, your memory of him. It really truly meant the world. It really did. Yeah, so many hurting families just waiting for answers. I mean, there's just so much anger and hatred and vile evil in the world. What I notice in the true crime genre, I'm probably gonna step on toes or go outside of boundaries, and I don't intend to, but I'm gonna be honest about it. I was watching a little bit of Grey Hughes yesterday or the day before, and there's another channel that I don't even from another country. Here we go, and it's constantly attacking the family members of Abby and Libby. Before Cody died, I probably would have been like, that's crazy. Why would somebody do that? That's insane. But after Cody died, I see those things, direct attacks on the families. I'm like, what a freaking animal. Who gives him the right? Who tells him? Who in the hell told him that he was allowed to be so disgusting towards Abby and Libby's family members and attack them on a daily basis? There's a difference in some of these cases when abuse, not being poor, but abuse is blatantly obvious. But in that case, in the Delphi case, to attack the families of Abby and Libby, who have to wake up every day, and they also didn't get a choice, but they're always being attacked by the same people, and the people that attacks them, they have formed a group and they grow. This is why I will not empower the people that are attacking me. I thought about this for, several weeks ago when I was really pissed off. And I really wanted to put it all out and expose them for what they were doing. I'm glad I took a minute to sit and think about it, because what came to my mind was anything that's living and I don't want to say human, but anything that's living has the ability to affect other people. To me, it's living, and if you anything that's living, you feed it, it grows. Unless you feed it poison, we can't run around feeding poison to enemies because we go to prison. Some of us are way too cute for prison. But these people, they thrive on hurting other people. They thrive on feeling empowered. They thrive on being correct, on being first, winning. I mean, all of those things. They thrive on it. They thrive on the drama. I'm never gonna join in on that. Never. I think it's I think it's shit. People that attack family members. Like, I'd love to have a conversation with some of them, but I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible because would they ever be honest about what their intention is? I mean, are you really seeking justice for people? I don't know. I don't know. But that's how I found my way into true crime. I wanted to give some context because I've been seeing and hearing videos. People send me links and stuff about just a ton of judgment, a shit ton of judgment about seek sympathy seeking. Nobody here's seeking sympathy. It's not easy to talk about the most painful, traumatic thing that's ever happened in your life and open yourself to vulnerability, knowing But there's a group of people out there that just want to keep you silenced or, blame you for shit that you have no control over, nothing to do with. I don't know. I don't know what they get out of it. I mean, you can't be empowered if you're not correct, right? That's very cruel. These and these are adults. These are adults. I mean, I had to tell a couple of people to please stop sending me links because it doesn't do me any good. But there's still, one or two that will send me like a note page with several links, and it's always the same couple of people. It's always disgusting stuff. Just just terrible stuff. I wonder how they would feel if they were the person that had to walk in our shoes and have that stuff thrown at them. I wonder what they would feel, how they would carry it. Yeah, Lee, I think it's an empowerment thing. I swear to you, I do. I think it's kind of like the mysterious, you know, all-knowing power or something. Because that's whenever they really lose their shit, is when a group tells them, no, you're not right. I've been on Grays. I've called into Grays a handful of times. It took me a long time to ever talk about Cody. And I had called in to a couple of others about a case that they were covering. But I've never mixed a case about a missing child. I never mentioned my son, ever, ever. There were people that knew, you know what I mean? Never was I ever on a panel and talked about a missing case and my child at the same time. Never. There's no relevancy there at all. Never. Those were put together by other people and then thrown in my face. And, I've let it ride because I don't owe them anything. And they normally, you ignore an idiot or a dumbass, you just ignore them, a bully, an asshole, and they move on to something else. These people, they have to be right. They're going to be right. And if you tell them that they're not right, and even show them that they're not right, they just come harder. They just make shit up, copy and paste it. They throw crap together. My ex-husband's name is one of the most common names in the entire country. I've said, Google it. Don't take my word for it. Google it. They won't do it because it helps to create, a narrative that I'm involved in some missing little girl's case. I don't see how it makes sense. It shows how absolutely crazy you are. I mean, you're insane crazy. I can tell you that. The whole world can tell you that. But there's something wrong with your brain that you don't get it. You keep making videos, bringing my son up. Mm-mm. Ain't gonna fly, man. I'm telling you right now, it's a war you don't want. I promise you, that is a fucking war that you don't want. I promise you that. Sling some mud on my son's name, you got it. You got the battle that you fucking don't want. I promise you that. The one is a friend, and I think that she was trying to give me a heads up or something. And I finally told her, like, I don't even go to those channels. I rarely watch any of the links. I don't. I just don't. When someone sends it to me, I'm assuming that it's about Cody. I'm gonna watch because I'm preparing for that shit. I'm preparing for that shit storm subconsciously. I really am. And we have emergency me.
Hello, beautiful.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad that you're here.
I'm glad you sent me the link.
Yeah. Anyway, my
I told
partner's
you I would
crazy
try.
hard. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm super glad. I'm really glad. I'm happy that you're here.
So, I
You want
mean,
to weigh in on all
my,
of this stuff? You're pretty familiar with what's going on and the people and whatever. I
I
don't know if you
am.
saw the newest
I don't.
video.
Yeah, I don't pay attention at all to them, to any of that crap. I really don't. Um, I'm very, very particular with who I watch, who I pay attention to, um,
Hmm.
and um, and that's basically just for my own sanity. Um,
Right.
I'm I'm really busy um, doing my life, my job, you know, my existence, and if it doesn't bring me joy or positive affirmation to my life, I do not give it any room to me.
Right.
So, um, and those types of individuals truly don't, and and so I just don't give it room for myself. Um, and
Yeah, I
so
normally would
no,
never have said anything. I really wouldn't have. I would have laughed it off because I've been doing that for how long now? I mean, for months. This actually
yeah,
started back in May, before it ever came to the channel where that we all met at. This started back in May, and I ignored it, and it was just like, find something else to do with your time because you're barking up the wrong tree. And I think what happened tonight, what really set me off, or kind of pissed me off a little bit, was I'm not a housewife and I don't sit at home and do nothing. I'm not an internet groupie. I I've worked my whole life for everything that I've ever had. I actually had a really bad work accident several months ago. I think I think her connection dropped. Hopefully she comes back. But I had a really bad work accident several months ago, and I'm not able to go back to work yet. But I had a very difficult job, a very physically difficult job, and a job that kept me away from home. I'm home now because I'm not able to go back to work and I still have surgeries that I have to have and medical treatment and whatever. Um, but I'm really getting tired of being, a lot of us being called, what do they say? Middle-aged, fixed income, bored housewives, or um, widows, or, I mean, just so, we're not all on fixed incomes, number one. Most of us have jobs, hard, demanding physical jobs, and we're raising kids and families and whatnot. Um, most of us Most of us have a pretty busy schedule. We enjoy the channels that we watch. I didn't know that there was a drama community. Recently, I've heard a lot about that. You didn't know this and that and whatever about said person. No, because I was here for true crime. And I just told you why. Because it gave me perspective and it got my ass out of bed. And it made me, you know, it made me see the world instead of laying there, melting away. Um, I'm super particular about the channels that I watch too because I feel like you're investing in them. You know what I mean? You're giving them a view, you're investing in them. I only support a couple of channels. I only have a couple of memberships, and those channels do something positive for me or my life, and that's why I support them. So it's not. I've never gone to any of these drama. I didn't know even who Bombshell was until she started showing up in Tiffany's chat all the time. That's how I knew who Bob. I never looked her up. I didn't know any of the crap she was up to. But it's easier to label us as like, the bitter housewife or the fixed income, middle aged or retired or whatever. And I mean,
yeah,
everyone's opinion, but I think what really set me off tonight though was when I heard we're going to keep looking into her and her son and we're going to expose her son. I had a couple of screenshots that were sent to me talking about him. I'm just like, you don't want that. You don't want to start that shit, man. First off, I'm on camera. I'm not hiding from anybody. I've never hid who I was. I don't have anything to hide. There's no nefarious, crazy, whatever in my life. I'm just, a 45, 46-year-old woman who's home with injuries, waiting to go back to work. And, you know, I watch true crime stuff for different, for a different reason than what people who came to YouTube. I don't know any of these drama people. I really don't. I have no interest in a drama community. And so why would I watch, you know what I mean? Why would I watch those channels?
Yeah. And I think that's it's a sad existence, in my personal opinion. What some of these people focus on, but and I have to believe, and I don't know where where they're coming from, or why they're doing these things, or what's the personal motivation behind any of it, but anybody knows, don't poke a mom. It's like poking a bear.
Yeah,
You
don't.
don't poke a bear. And you just don't. Um, to do so is you're you're physically turning on an emotion that you don't want directed at you.
Right.
And if you're a
Absolutely.
mom, you know it. If you're a dad, you know that. It's an inherent emotion that
Hmm.
will destroy you, and without rationale of why, how, when, anything. There's no justification behind it. It is what it is. It's how it is. And um, animals do it. Humans do it. Uh, everybody does
Absolutely.
it. And uh, I don't know if that's their motivation behind it, because they know that's the reaction that they're gonna get, and that's what they want, that reaction. I'm not sure, but if you don't want it, and everybody who is a mother or a father, an aunt, an uncle, cousins, everybody who has that emotion is going to turn with it, because we know those feelings, and
Right.
you just don't
We'll
poke on, you don't.
defend.
Yeah, we all will defend it, which is why we stand behind children, why we
Hmm.
why we do what we do, you know because they are innocent. They are completely, you don't touch them. And it's, in my opinion, children are, their backs are immediately up against a wall, and you don't put anybody in that position. um and I'll fight to the death for a kid. It
Absolutely.
doesn't
I
have
will
to,
too.
it doesn't
Not
have
even
to.
mine.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they don't have to be my children. I don't care whose kids they are. I'm going to fight, you
Absolutely.
know
I remember
for
that
them.
there was, I could not agree more. And I'll say, for those of us that have lost a child, we've been through what was designed to kill us. We've been through it. It was
Mhm.
designed to absolutely destroy us from the inside out. And we survived it. I really could not care less what people think about me. I truly couldn't. But I have physical things left of my son. I have memories, I have photos, I have videos, and I have his memory. I don't put him on a pedestal. I didn't put him on a pedestal after he died. He was born with a pedestal and a crown on. And anybody that knew him, they'll tell you good things about him because we had accountability in our home. We had discipline in our home. We had right and wrong. Doing the right thing has always been important. Um, his memory is the most valuable thing that I have left. I fear the day that I don't remember him or his face or his, voice. And I know it's a vulnerability. Anybody who has lost a child knows that that's a vulnerability, which is why it's hard to put yourself out there because that's the first thing that they're going to go for. But make no mistake, I've survived the unsurvivable. You come for my son and you sling mud on him, it'll be the last fucking thing you do.
Yeah.
The
and
last.
and I say, so what if you put him on a pedestal and he doesn't deserve
Right?
that? So what if you do? you know
Absolutely.
Who who cares?
He
You
was
know?
born with it. I knew he was going to be great. I knew he was going to be great, and he was. He was great. He was an asshole too. Don't get me wrong. He busted mailboxes with his friends, um, and then he had to go and apologize and replace the mailboxes. I mean, he did dumb stuff as a kid. All kids do. Most kids
We all
do.
do. Hmm.
He never hurt anybody intentionally or unintentionally. He never, got in legal trouble or anything like that. He was dedicated and focused to motocross and turned it into a very profitable and successful career. And
At a young age,
uh,
might I say.
very young age, very young
Hmm.
age. And he did great things. He was in Texas giving things away to people that, weren't even involved with motocross because he saw the need. And I learned this after he passed away. Everywhere he went, he just, if there was a single mom in the pits or a single dad in the pits, the kid's bike's falling apart, he's toting, parts over to help this kid, get his, because he knew what motocross was for him. He knew what it gave him. He knew what it gave our family. It's the best sport. I mean, I'm always going to be supportive of it. But yeah, there was an on there. I remember the very, first few months of watching true crime cases. It was like there was a standard. If you disagreed with another person, you just didn't watch them. You know, you just you just didn't watch them. But there was a um almost like a camaraderie again among all of the creators that they didn't talk negatively about each other. You know, they didn't like come at each other's throats. And that's not the same anymore. It was also like a standard of you don't talk about each other's kids. You just don't. You don't bring people's kids into the bullshit. You don't voice your opinions about other people's kids. It's off limits. I mean, your opinion versus somebody else's opinion, but when did it change? What do you think made it okay to be so cutthroat, and why do you think it is? I'm seriously
Uh,
interested in this opinion. I haven't
I don't.
I don't know
I
these
don't
other
know.
communities.
I don't know. Because I've been involved in true crime for a real long time. I was never vocal. I just watched when I was able to watch. And so I was never really involved in like the live chats and all that. I just never had time for it to be actively involved in it. So I always caught replays or those kinds of things. Um, and I was active, like watching chats, but it was always after the fact. So, um, uh, and then I didn't comment in anything because you know I just didn't have time for it really, or I didn't feel like what I had to say was, I guess, important or pertinent or anything like that. But no, it was, and I guess now that I'm a mod, you kind of, any of those bad comments, just, they're gone before you ever get to the live chat, you know after after they're gone, when you get to watch it,
Hmm.
when the live's over. But I don't know. I don't know where people got it in their mind that it's okay to be hateful or okay to be
Hmm.
disrespectful or okay to be cunning and conniving and just okay. I have no idea where everybody got it in their mind that talking about somebody else's child or somebody else's complete lifestyle that you do not agree with, that's an okay practice, because it's not. you know
Hmm.
I'm a personal believer of mow your own grass, maintain your
Absolutely.
own monkeys, not your circus, not your monkeys,
Yeah.
not my grass, I don't mow that. you know um and calling law enforcement um or whatever is just, you don't do that type of behavior. It's, most of the time on YouTube, everything is pretty petty. um
Hmm.
it and you know, unless it's not, and those situations are very few and far between. So
Mm-hmm.
um people make situations out to be a lot bigger than they have to be. um and we're all adults, and if we can't walk around here like adults, then get off this
Right.
platform, please.
Yeah.
um you know,
And
if
if you
you wouldn't
can't not
be.
hurt people, if you can't not hurt somebody because it makes you feel like a big, strong man or an
Mhm.
important person or like the best booty pat you ever had, I mean, what's the, I would love to ask them, like, what's the intention behind it? Because you wouldn't go so deep and so hard and so long for no reward. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
mean, I don't, I don't understand. I've never known adults to act like this. I haven't. I actually got embarrassed. Blushing Blue Eyes is like my sister-in-law, and I kind of, you know, I knew that it was hard to explain why I was so interested in these true crime cases. And it's easy to explain. It gives me perspective. It makes me feel humble. It opens my eyes to the mom that lost two kids at one time, or the man whose wife and child died in the same accident, or the plane crash full of people. And it's kind of like these people find a reason to get up and move on. I can too. They make you realize that if you focus on the death, you forget the life. You're overlooking the life. And I'm not ever going to do that again, ever, never, because it's a very lonely, miserable place. That's what I want people to take away from this whole channel. As if we stay focused on the death, we will forget the life. And
absolutely.
as,
I
as bad as
completely
it
agree.
hurts, you you're giving away those memories. You're giving away the last little bit that you have with them. The true crime gave me so much perspective. Gray Hughes is somebody that you like him or you don't. You love him or you hate him. I've had it out with Gray. I've been mad at Gray before. Gray and I've talked on the phone hours upon hours upon hours. I was a mod for him for a very long time. I love Gray. Gray is smart. He's dedicated to what he's doing. He does, want to grow a bigger channel because it gives him a bigger platform to put the names out there. When I see him doing a show on like Abby and Libby, he's covered that case more than anybody. The only time I see him go at another creator is when they're literally, you know, attacking the family members. I mean, and they have to do something very vile that's complete terms of service. Like for instance, doxing me and my son on several videos. I've known that they were there. I don't have anything to hide, but I'm at the point now. Being silent doesn't shut these people up. Like in real life, which YouTube to me is real life because, you got people that want to make it real life, but in real life, we tell our kids that if a bully is targeting them up until the point that they physically assault my son, I told him, ignore it. Don't feed into it. Just ignore it. Do the best you can to ignore it. If they put their hands on you, defend yourself. But, you
Yeah,
know, um, that doesn't work. That doesn't work on YouTube. That I don't know why it doesn't work on YouTube, but it doesn't. These people are empowered by making you feel inferior. I don't get it.
yeah,
I don't
I
I
don't
don't get the
either.
personal attacks.
No, I don't either. And I don't know how you go from a YouTube scenario to real life scenario. I don't know how you take that jump. I don't. Um I like I can't grasp that. Like that whole like I get so lost in that thought because it like nothing is that serious. Nothing.
Right, right.
Nothing is this serious on here, you know?
Yeah.
Um You know, like you have, like you, me, people, real people have lived real life things, real life
Yeah.
situations, like 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 I mean, and we're talking real life situations, okay?
Bad. A lot
That,
of bad shit.
yeah, real bad things where you, like, that's real life. And if
Hmm.
you've never lived a real life situation where you're in danger, you're broken, and you fear for everything, then please, and I hate to sound condescending in that, but shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down.
Right. I
You
agree.
know, and I'm just going to be real for the minute,
I agree.
because if you take anything on YouTube this seriously, where you're like, I'm coming to your house and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, wow. I'm gonna say, please go to your nearest hospital and volunteer for a
Right.
day,
You need to.
and
Absolutely. Come
and
face to face with people that have suffered greatly.
and just take the day and humble yourself. Go to a shelter and volunteer and humble yourself for a whole day, or
Yeah.
a veterans hospital, or go get out, get out of your chair, get off your device, your
Hmm.
whatever it is, go outside and touch the grass, get some sun on your face, be one with real life, because this is not real. This is a YouTube community. And when people say, you know, this person's making money off of YouTube, YouTube is a business. It is
Right.
designed to make money. And you're on it to make money. You're on it to help people make money, and you're helping YouTube make their money. You don't like that design plan? Get off of YouTube.
Right. You don't
Stop
get a
bitching.
choice. Yeah.
You stop bitching about YouTube and get off of YouTube, because every platform you're going to get on to do something is that platform, is a design
Yeah.
plan to make money. And if you don't like that, get off of it. And
Right.
it's asinine to me, and I don't understand it. And everybody wants to bitch about things. It's the people that
Hmm.
are lying, scheming, scamming, and freaking everything else to make money instead of doing it in an honest and creative way. And
Yeah.
it's those people that you need to back away from, not the honest and creative people that are actually following TOS guidelines that YouTube sets up,
Hmm.
and and is doing it proper. But it's the people that are going behind everybody's backs. And I'm not going to name names, because we all know
Right.
who those people are. But
Right.
going behind people's names and using up people to gain subs, to gain, you know, con people out of crap. No,
Hmm.
and or like going and doxing people, and people are paying money for that. Please,
Yeah.
if you want to dox somebody, be the first person to put your information out there. Are you willing to put your
Right.
information out?
Show
Because
your
before you
face.
dox it, yeah, if you're going to be the first person to dox, you better be out there putting your information out, your name, your address, your photo, your a picture, a street view of your house, and all of your relatives, because that's
Right.
essentially what you're doing. And if you're not comfortable with doing that, then don't do it to nobody else. I mean, I don't know, that whole golden rule thing is fucking weird to me, but it's like, do unto others if you'd like to do unto you. So, I mean, I don't know.
Right. We don't live in that
I
world
mean, it's,
anymore, girl. Are you kidding me? We don't live
I
there
mean, it's,
anymore. We
it's
live in a
funny.
who can be the biggest asshole in the shortest period of time and cause the most hurt on other people. I just know
Well,
what they get out of it.
I see a lot of assholes in my ER, but you know what? They all come out pretty freaking humble when they leave.
Oh
You know,
yeah, I
it
have
does
no
nobody
doubt.
any good. It does nobody any good at you know, at the end of the day. It doesn't do you any good to be an asshole. You know, it costs zero amount of dollars to be a kind person. Nothing.
Yeah,
You know,
you're right
it
though about the ER. The ER humbles the shit out of the hardest person. It does. Tragedy to me is like reality. I mean, I'll be honest about it. I had a lot of loss in a short period of time, Cody being the worst, by far the worst. And it was none of it's fun. None of it's fun. But you're right about that though. Like the ER is so freaking humbling. Lives changed in the ER. You're right about that. I never thought
it
about that.
there's two
Lives
places in
changed.
this world. There's two places in this world that you see true emotion. And that's, you know, that's at a hospital and that's at an airport.
Okay.
I mean, and to me, those are the true places that you see true emotion when people are coming and going.
Hmm. Makes sense. I never thought about it. That makes a lot of sense. You said something a minute ago that made me think about one of my favorite quotes that I know Brene Brown. I don't know if any of you know who Brene Brown is. She's one of my absolute favorite authors. I think I have every book that she's written, and I'm on the waiting list for her next one um, because she resonates with me. I never read a page that I don't relate with or I can't relate to, and I always get something out of it. So I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of Brene Brown. Had the pleasure of meeting her, and she is as large in real life as she is on the pages of her book. She did a TED talk a few years ago, and I didn't know who she was then, but I definitely went back and watched it and I saved it. And she talks about Theodore Roosevelt's quote. Have you heard that? Have you heard
Uh,
the man in the
which,
arena quote?
oh, maybe, but it's not familiar on the top of my head.
I'll read it to you. It's called The
Please.
Man in the Arena. It's a Theodore Roosevelt quote. I believe it was her first or second book that um, her book is all about the Roosevelt, the man in the arena. And the quote goes, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Basically, if you're not willing to get in the arena and get bloody and dirty with me, I don't really care about your opinion. If your opinion's you don't have an opinion. And that meant so much. At that same time, that I was kind of like, am I going to hurt like this for the rest of my life? Am I going to feel this way? Is life always going to be empty? Every time I look in the mirror, am I going to self-loathe? I took mirrors out of my house and smashed them on the concrete. I threw every Bible outside and I burned them. I have never been so angry and desolate in my whole life. I literally looked in the mirror and said to myself out loud, "You had one fucking job. You were tasked with one duty, and that was to keep your kid alive, and you failed epically at that." And I carried that for months until the Delphi case, and then this book. And when I read the Roosevelt quote, and I went online, I researched it, and that's what it is. Um, the whole world will shower you with their opinion if you let them. They'll tell you what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, how you should feel, all of those things. But at the end of the day, they haven't traveled your journey. They haven't walked in your shoes. That's kind of how I feel about this YouTube stuff. I appreciate YouTube because, like I said, you get a lot more information than what the local media is going to give. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. But when you're somebody who's grieving, especially the loss of a child, not that other grief isn't as equally important, because it 100% is, but it humbles you and it puts you in your place, it wakes you up, and it almost makes you feel selfish. It did me anyway. It made me feel a little selfish, like, how do I feel like this? And they don't even know what happened to their children who, never had a school dance. They never brought home a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They never learned how to drive a car. They never learned how to shave. You know, they never got out of a size whatever, and they're gone and nobody knows. And you talk about impactful and hitting me in the face, and kind of, I went from self-loathing to focusing on Cody's life and how funny he was, all the time funny and laughing and joking. Anything that makes somebody laugh and smile. And I know what they say about people like that. They say people like that are carrying a lot of hurt, but he wasn't. He's not carrying a lot of hurt. He absolutely loved life. He was in his prime, living his best life, winning races, getting sponsorships and endorsements. Racing teams calling him all the time. He was hitting everything on every track that he ever struggled with. He was teaching people how to ride. I mean, no part of that child was sad about anything. I mean, he wasn't hurt over a girlfriend, or, he was absolutely in a great place in life. But I had lost focus on that, and I was only focusing on how I felt and what I had lost and what I had to live without. And every day it was like Groundhog Day. Wake up, cry, not get out of bed till work called, go to work. Now I want to, talk to any. I started blaming everybody for everything. People pushed me away like they do. Nobody wants to face grief or talk about it. I don't expect this channel to really do a whole lot, because it's hard to face. Nobody wants to talk about grief. It's taboo. It's bad. You're like, we're not supposed to be happy. We're not supposed to enjoy life. We're not supposed to be have any joy. It's like, put them away in the shelf or in the closet until we need them for something. I get that, but I can't live like that. Like, I'm not wrong for being happy. Sometimes I'm not wrong for appreciating life. I'm not nobody's going to tell me that, because that's how he lived. When we lose focus on the good things, it puts us into that downward spiral. That's how I feel about it. YouTube, the toxicity that's here. Somebody asked me, how did you not know about this other community? How did you not know about what they were saying in this community? Because I had never been there. I had no reason to go there. I never would. I never knew who that person was. I don't care how many subscribers they had, or if they're monetized or not. It's irrelevant to me. I never went there, ever. If I'm watching one creator all the time because I like what they put out and how they put it out, and somebody comes into the chat or on the panel and they start spewing hate at them, I'm not going to go research what they said. I'm automatically thinking the person that just come into the chat and got ugly is lost in their mind. Why would you do that? It makes them look bad, not the channel holder. So I've never had a reason to go search out who any of these people are. And
Yeah.
I hear a lot of the I've had a lot of the links sent to me and watched a lot of the stuff about what they're saying, because of the whole bombshell thing. I'm like, I didn't know you. I never knew you had a channel. I don't care what your opinion of this person is that I watch all the time religiously and will continue to do so. Do you think, here's a question I have. I put the link in the
Before
channel, or
you
I put
bef-
the,
before you do that,
mhm,
I'm going to say to you, I think you're absolutely wrong about your channel. I think this
mhm.
channel is pivotal for those who grieve, because it opens up a Pandora's box for those for those who need a place where a place to go to be open about grief, where they can't go to the individuals in their life, because
That's true.
the individuals in their life very commonly say, I don't want to hear it, or I it's too much for me, or they feel shut out or closed off or too depressed or too uncomfortable. This spot for them opens up that opportunity. And it's so important because they now have a voice, and that is important. That voice again, where they have a willing and open ear. So I want to say you're wrong. And I'm so proud of you for doing this. And I'm so excited to hear all the stories of the Vilomahs,
Yeah.
because all of their stories matter and all of their voices matter, because all of the kids matter.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I guess I should say it like, I don't have any high expectations, meaning I hope that all of the people that are hurting because of child loss find their way, because I feel like it really truly does take a strong support group to actually face. You get, how do I say it? The initial shock can be so debilitating that you never recover from that. I've had several emails from people that are still in that phase of loss. And that hurts me. That bothers me tremendously. And initially I was kind of like, man, you've got so much on yourself right now. But having been there, knowing what it took for me to make the decision to crawl out, I kind of I get how people shun you and they stay away and all of those things. And the first thing that went through my head was, would they be in this position if they had the support that was encouraging, not the support that's judgmental or comparison or anything like that, but the people who are willing to get in the trenches and, you know, and help you get out. No, they don't have those people or they wouldn't be there. And that is a very dangerous, very scary, very dark place to be. It's easy to go back in there. So while I should say, channel growth, meaning the right people here, because it's so important to support each other. It's so important to have a place where you know you can say your child's name. You can talk about your emotions without judgment. So the whole world doesn't get it. People don't understand how you can hate yourself but not want to die. If you say that to the wrong person, somebody who's not understanding, they're going to call 911 and report you for being suicidal. You're not suicidal. You just, you hate your life. Um, so I really want people to get something out of this channel, and anybody who speaks on this channel shares their own story on this channel. And I invite every single person that has emailed me. I've said, and I mean it with my entire soul, I want, when they're ready, for them to share whatever they're comfortable sharing, because that is the key. The first time you can talk about your loss and somebody sits down and listens instead of leaving the room, it is huge. It gives you the courage to try again. The
Yeah.
first time you speak your child's name or your lost person's name, and that doesn't clear the room, people actually sit down and have a meal, is like, I mean, it's so foreign. And that's when you realize, listen, that's when you first realize how isolated you've made yourself. You've made yourself so freaking isolated. You don't speak their names again. You don't talk about them again. You focus on the death and how it makes you feel. That is dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be. And there's not one person that I want to ever experience that by themselves, because I know I had nobody. I had no one. The entire world, house full of people, they all walked away and no one. And I don't want that for anybody, because it is dangerous. It's almost worse than the death, if I'm being completely honest. That isolation, is almost worse than the death. And there's two types of death. I have done so much research on this, emergency me. There's two types of death. It's the hardest for parents when it comes to their children dying. Two specific types of death that are extra hard. And so I want them to come here to find comfort, to find people who will laugh with them and cry with them. Parents whose children die from overdose or suicide have the stigma that comes with that to also deal with. I can't relate to those, and I'm glad that I cannot relate to those, but never, ever will I judge someone whose child died from an overdose or committed. It does not make you a bad person, a bad parent. It does not make a child bad. It does not. There should be no negative connotation with those two types of death, but there are. There are. I get emails from parents like this, and they're they're hurting. They're desperate to belong somewhere. I mean, I want this channel to grow because I want people to heal and overcome, you know, that pain and suffering. I want them to be able to wake up and find the joy somewhere in life to create, a new life where they can honor and remember their child every day. And they can talk about them whenever it's appropriate, whenever they feel like it makes them feel better, without the whole world shutting them out. That's the hardest part, if I'm blatantly honest about life after child loss. That's the most difficult part. And every time you get rejected, every time somebody leaves the room, every time somebody says, well, you probably should just go to counseling, maybe you just need some antidepressants, all of those negative things, it's like breaking little pieces of you off. And you go from being the most outgoing, social, happy person to complete isolation. I'm uncomfortable in groups of people now. I'm 100, I never was, but I'm very uncomfortable in groups of people. The trauma of, the physical trauma of the emotions after the fact are crazy. But I got a question for you.
Yeah,
And then I
please.
don't want to talk about social media crap anymore. And these angry ass, malicious, vile, disgusting pigs. I just want them to all roll over in their own damn shit. Taste your own shit for a while. But I do want to. I want opinions about this because I mean, I'm not familiar with a whole lot of channels, but do people think that they're smarter than law enforcement? And
Yes.
I know that there are some cases where social media has helped with solving a case, but the likelihood of that doesn't seem to be very great. I mean, it seems to me about getting coverage. Like without the channels that have covered Summer Wells, would she really have gotten as much coverage? I don't think so. I just don't. So why do you think that these people go so hard? Do you think that they're going to solve the case and that they're smarter than law enforcement?
I think they're smarter than law enforcement. Um,
Really?
uh, I think, okay. Um, um, Here's my thing. Okay. So, um, I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about, Hawkins County and the law enforcement in Hawkins County. And
Hmm.
hold on, my dog is dying.
Girl, I got opinions too. Don't nobody want my opinion about Hogan County. Oh my gosh.
Okay. No, I think um, here's my big thing, and I say it a lot, but it's like it really doesn't trigger anything for anybody.
Hmm.
Um, but when you have law enforcement, okay,
Hmm.
law enforcement can do an entire investigation, and they can have all the evidence in the world, okay,
Right.
to
Right. Yeah.
to charge people, to everything. But in our judicial system, who brings charges?
Prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
Yep.
So law enforcement can only go so far. Okay. So they can have everything. And if the prosecutor, such as the DA or the ADA, doesn't want to prosecute, they're stuck.
Right.
Okay.
Nobody can do a damn
So,
thing.
yeah. So, and I'm not saying at all that that's the case in Summer's situation, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody is really gung ho about saying how incompetent law enforcement is. But they
Mm-hmm.
never hold the DA or the ADA or any of the prosecutors responsible for the decisions that are being made there. They seem to completely disregard the actual judicial system of, our government. And so that goes for FBI, that goes for TBI, that goes for all law enforcement. They can only go so far before
Mm-hmm.
the next step has to be taken. So, again, I'm not saying that the fault may not lie on certain individuals, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not taking, people seem to stop at elite. They don't seem to continue on with the thought process. And I'm a huge person of think it all the way through. Don't just stop at
Right.
where you feel comfortable. You have to
Exactly.
think it all the way through. And it may not even, I mean, we could go even further than that and say the DA or the ADA may want to, and a judge won't grant the order. You have no idea what is the holdup, and we can all assume, moan, groan, bitch, complain, all of these things, but we have truly no idea what
Right.
is going on the back end of any of this. And so, sure, we can do all of it. the The thing is that we just don't know. And so, uh, they may be, they could be waiting on certain things. They could be waiting on this and that. Who knows? I don't have a clue. And quite frankly, no one has a clue, because if we had a clue, we would be able to figure it out, but we don't. And,
Right.
so I think a lot of people would love to assume that they are smarter than law enforcement. They're smarter than the prosecutors. They're smarter than a defense team. They're smarter than a judge. They're smarter than the criminals who possibly, did the offense, and they're smarter than anybody. They think they're the smartest people in
Mm-hmm.
the room, but we're not.
True.
So, in the long and short of that answer, yes. Yes, yes. And then there's some people who are realists and live in the real world of situations, and we watch enough true crime and didn't just start watching true crime, you know, when, Summer's case started. And I'm not saying anybody that just started watching true crime when Summer's case started, that they're
Right.
dumb as a box of bricks, because there's very, very smart people that started watching Summer's case when it happened. But there are some
Right.
people who started watching Summer's case and think they should work for the FBI and should prosecute every case and should be a judge in every county known to man. And
Mm-hmm.
they shouldn't, obviously. But it that's the long and short of the answer.
I'm glad to get your perspective on it. I've been wanting to ask that for so long. Um, I want to talk to Valerie Ventura for just a second. I want to share something with you, Valerie. I was reading a couple of the comments. I'm gonna put my I'm gonna put my email in the chat right now because I want you to email me. All you have to say is, "Hey, this is Valerie," and I'll email you back. But I would like for you, if you're comfortable with it, to email me at that email. But I want to share something with you with the intention of making you feel a little lighter about what you're kind of burdened with right now. This is the stuff that I think, this is the stuff that I think is important to share with people. Um, is Valerie still here? Are you here still? Okay. Are you still in the chat? Valerie, I'm so glad that you came back, and I hope that you come back after. And I dropped a link in the chat, and I'll drop it again. And if you'd like to come up and talk, the floor is yours because I think that it's extremely important. I want to share something with you that I haven't shared with people. Okay, good. She's here. I'm sorry, emergency me. It kind of felt a little almost urgent. I gotta figure this
Yeah,
out.
no problem at all.
Do you know when it comes to screen sharing? I'm going to photos. And okay, so it has to be share screen. Window. Photos. Share. Still isn't. What the heck's going on? Okay, let me try it this way.
Yeah, don't ask me anything about StreamYard. I don't know anything about it.
I hate it. Everybody said it's so easy. They're a whole lie. It ain't easy at all. Okay, share screen. Nope, I don't want that one. I want the photos. Share. And it says unlock the screen by selecting the lock in the bottom left. What the hell is that? Oh my gosh, this is gonna make me mad. There's no lock in the bottom left. Restream. Oh, I don't know how to put them in Chrome. I don't want them in Chrome. This is terrible. Okay, screen share. Share screen. Window. I wish you could see my screen right now. Tell me what the heck to do. Chrome's lost permission to capture the screen. To fix it, go to System Preferences. I'm not doing all that right now. Let me try it another way.
Yeah, and if
Bear
you
with
see
me
any
here just
comments
one
for me,
second.
I can't see chat right now. So if there's been any
Is it your
comments for me, I'm
husband?
apologizing. Huh?
Okay, got you. Is it your husband? Getting crazy.
No, no.
Let's see. This is so frustrating. What the heck? I could probably get my nephew out here to figure this out like immediately. But I'm about to put him on here. Crap. Okay. I'm gonna do it from my phone, I think. I'm just going with my phone at old school because I think it's important right now. Um, oh, I'm sorry. Creative team. Sorry about that. Okay, let me hit the Valerie, you're more than welcome to come up on this panel right now because I just feel like this is important with what you're talking about right now. Okay. I'm gonna pull them up on my phone because I swear to you, I'm gonna figure out the screen share stuff. My son, I read what you had typed in chat and what you do. I hope that this maybe gives you a little perspective. I can relate a little bit. So I went back through my son's social media. This is a really soft spot for me because everybody saw it, when he would type in on his social media, it was like everybody, everybody knew. These were actually read at his funeral, which I don't know how I feel about that, but let me find the first one here. Okay. I'm going to try to hold this up to the screen here. Can people see and read this? June 3rd, he typed in, do the right thing, be an honest person, and life is pretty simple. It's nice to be able to smile all day. God works in quite mysterious ways. Can you see that? Okay. Thank you, guys. July 7th. And I redacted the comments, like how many comments and likes and all that stuff, because I didn't want other people's names out there. But July 7th, what if tomorrow? No, he passed away August 12th. So on July 7th, he said, what if tomorrow never came and the words you said today could never be undone? On August 9th, do something cool today, dude. Tomorrow was anything but promised. Okay, June 28th. I had these in order, but they're not now. He posted a photo of his bike at SRS suspension. This is a little weird too. He said, I feel like everyone should love something as much as I love this bike and this sport. It's all about finding what makes you jump out of bed in the morning. Believe it or not, you're meant to do more than just work and pay bills. We could all use a little more love. Okay, on August 1st. So he died August 12th. August 1st. He posted a screenshot of his Bible, verse John 13, chapter 7. Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will. You'll understand. With his words, think about it every day. On the day of his accident, hours before, about, I have to remember, within 5 hours of his accident. I think it was closer to 3, but I don't want to say anything wrong. So this is the day of his accident, August 12th. He posted, recently it's been pointed out to me just how much I've changed my personality and life in just a year. I've surrounded myself with the best people I've ever met, and it's really made me such a positive person every day. It even carries over into moto and everything else going on in my life. I appreciate my family, friends, and supporters more than ever. You guys are amazing. And then I believe it was about 3 hours later, his accident happened. I've had these in my phone since a few days after his accident because people sent them to me and said, you think he knew? Was this a warning? He knew he was going to die. He knew he was going to die. They actually said that to me. They said, did you know he posted this? Are you kidding me? I know everything that he posted. Of course I know what he posted. But they actually had the audacity to tell me that he knew he was going to die. I don't know if that's true or not. In my heart of hearts, I'd like to believe that if he thought that he was given some sort of premonition or warning that he was going to pass away, that he would have, you know, had a proper goodbye. He would have told me about it. And what would I have done? You ain't going in no track today, 21 years old. I would have done anything to prevent him from walking out the door. Anything. Like I said before, nobody, we don't get an option. Nobody asks us if we want to beg to trade our life for theirs. No one says which kid do you want to live without. No one says anything to us. I don't know if it's designed that way. I don't know what religious beliefs you have. But some things, in my opinion, are left to not know, not for any reason. I believe in free will on the earth. And I believe my son's accident happened because of free will. Because two people, him and his best friend, were in a familiar place doing very familiar things. Kid's been on a bike since he was 3. 3. Somebody would have told me he was going to die on a bike. I'd have laughed at them because he never had a regular bicycle. He had his dirt bike. So when that Bible verse, you may not understand now what I'm doing, but one day you will, is what I always go back to. That was his favorite Bible verse. He posted it everywhere. It's on the back of his headstone at the cemetery. And I have it engraved in a locket. It's the hardest one to accept, though. We're not meant to know, and we can't prevent what happens. Um, I know what it's like to have people judge you, not the way that you specifically are dealing with it. Let me make that clear. I'm not sure the burden that you carry you know, with the loss and the type of loss and the after effect of that loss. But I want you to know this. If you hear anything else I say, Valerie, I want you to hear this. It's easier on the whole world for you to never question or speak about or have an opinion or a feeling. Nobody wants to deal with anything negative. Nobody wants to deal with the hurt and the pain. Nobody knows what to say. Some of them are probably selfish assholes that just say, I can't be around all that negativity. Others of them just don't know what to say. I don't know what to say sometimes to people when I'm looking them in the face and they're experiencing the same thing that I have. Sometimes it's not meant to know, and that hurts and it sucks. But I want you to know this. If you focus on the good times and the joy and the happiness, all of those first moments that make being a mom so special, the whole world can have an opinion, but what you and your son experienced is what makes your relationship special. Because Cody was an athlete, everybody thought they knew everything, newspapers, you name it. And they wanted what little bit was left of him. And I said, no, I'm not sharing that with you. I'm not giving you what's left. Those private memories, those private things about him, that makes my relationship special. And that's what makes your relationship special. Not knowing is hard, but staying focused on not knowing is the hardest. Sometimes, as hard as it might think that it is, as hard as it might seem to be, saying to yourself and other people, I just don't know the answer to that, and then changing your focus. I know that sounds mean and harsh and hard. But when I think back on Cody and how happy he was and how lively he was, if I lay down and I don't care anymore and I find no joy, then his story is never told. I can't introduce him to people who never knew him if I'm not there to do it. I hope that makes sense. But I really want you to email me so that I can send you. I know, my biggest supportive hater calls them Vilomah care packages. They're not. They're just things I put together. The first time somebody I knew and cared about that lost a child shortly after Cody, I thought back to what did I need the most. And those items that I cherished the most, that got me through the funeral, that got me through the first couple of weeks, salted peanuts, sweet tea, bottles of water, tissues, a blanket, a journal, a pen, a pillow because I didn't want to lay down. All of those things, that's to me, that's a care package. That's, helping a grieving parent deal with, the initial few days. So, but there's also journals. There's a couple of books and journals that I think might help. I think it might help you see the difference between death and their life and how your job to parent them today might be a little easier. And I promise you, if you just make the decision to cherish his life and to get up, it's so different. It's it's so different. But I wanted you to see those social media posts because I would have never looked I would have never looked at those and had any thought that maybe he knew and he just didn't tell me. That's a hard pill to swallow. Your kid might have known he was gonna die and he didn't come and tell you. You know, I felt like it was blame and it was directed at me and it sucked. And I don't want you to feel that way because there's not always an answer for every question or every feeling or every emotion, but there's a way to hover above it and view it as a whole and kind of push it to the side because some of these things are too big and too heavy and too dangerous to stay focused on. And I don't want you to stay focused in any of those spots. I really hope I didn't offend you. And I really hope that you understand this comes from one Viloma to another, and that I really care that you move past the questions and the hurt and the anger. I totally get where you're coming from. I totally get it. I 100% understand where you're coming from. And I wish that there were answers to all these questions, but there's just not. There's never going to be answers to some of them.
When I worked hospice, we had this book that we give out. It's called the Blue Book.
Hmm.
One the cover was blue. The like the pages and all that kind of stuff it was all blue. But it wasn't, the actual title of it was called the Blue Book. And it was how to like basically the stages of grief and how to deal with grief and all of those kinds of things. It was really, really good. Um, and we would give it to our families, because in hospice you do. We always say like 50% of our time is with the patient, and then the other 50% of our time is with the family. Um, you have your time with the patient, and then you have your time with the family, um, for counseling and grievance and all of those kinds of things. So um, your job's not done with in normal care of patient care. Your job is done when the patient's done. But in
Hmm.
hospice, that's not the way it goes. Your job isn't done when the patient's done. Your job continues on with the family. Um, and in hospice, we follow the family for a year. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we do we well, and it's either 6 months to a year, but um, we the company I worked for it was a year, and we took pride in doing that. Um, that we followed the family for a year, and we made it a big part of what we did. Um,
That's
but
amazing.
yeah, it's again, it's just one of those intricate parts of being, being a part of the aftercare of what you're doing. Um, and I truly loved hospice. It was, there's nothing that fit me better, really, um, in true patient care, uh, than what hospice was. What hospice
Hmm.
is, what they stand for, and not all hospices are the same, obviously, um, but the hospice company I worked for, I truly appreciated them. But uh, that's a if I could, we bought it privately from the company. I don't even know if you could get it publicly. I'm sure you could, but
Hmm.
I would like to see if I could find that book and send it, like send it to you.
Oh,
Um,
I would love it. Yeah, absolutely. I would
because
love that.
just like you could send that out also in your care packages,
Yeah,
um,
that would be exactly
for
what I was
for the
thinking. That would be amazing.
for the for the grieving, because it walks you through all the stages of grief, and you'll get stuck in them. Um, and then you'll go backwards, and you'll go forwards, and you'll go backwards, and you'll go forwards, and you'll skip steps, and then you'll come back to it, and it's all normal. It's all part of that process that you go through. And
Yeah.
it's but it kind of gives you a nice outline of what that looks like. And um I mean, every person grieves differently, and there's no right or wrong way to grieve. There's you don't let anybody don't ever let anybody tell you that this is what you're supposed to be doing when you grieve. This is what it's supposed to, because there's no right or wrong way, you know.
Right.
There's never, it's never cookie cutter, it's never picture
Mhm.
perfect. It's
You know
never
what else
anything.
I noticed too with child loss grief? The difference. I mean, shortly before Cody passed, I mean, I lost several people very, very close, just tragic accidents, nothing expected. One thing I have noticed, and I've paid a lot of attention to and gone back and read through journals, and I've looked, online. One thing about child loss that's so different is the stages can all be at once, and they can all be in the same day. You can be angry one minute, you can accept the next minute, you can try to barter the next minute. I mean, you can have all of these phases at one time. Where like, when my best friend was held hostage in a store for several hours, 4.5 hours, and then forced to make, goodbye phone calls and then shot and killed. Um, with her, it was like I
I'm so
felt
sorry.
myself going, thank you. It was absolutely terrible. Again, without warning. But I noticed that I could feel when I look back, I know I was going through the stages. And the last one, obviously, the hardest. And I still grieve her every day too. The same thing with my dad, just longer stages. With Cody, I mean, this morning I was, in my room lounging, self-loathing, being, a crybaby. And then I get a shower and I decide to go for a walk before, I did a live stream and I come downstairs and, I was kind of joking around a little bit. It's just like, all the time, every day. I don't know how I'm going to feel next hour. And that's part of the, being normal. But I have learned that when the negative emotions hit, that's when I have to allow them. I have to give them their own space and their own time. And I have to lean into them and let them take its course. Otherwise, they don't ever leave. It goes from a couple of hours or a day to a week to a month. That's the difference with child loss, is it's all over the place and there's so many plethora of emotions. Like I think I
Yeah,
talked about it before, and I think I told you this too. The one thing about child loss that I think people who are support roles, the supportive people, one thing that I wrote out in a journal was, how do we explain to the people that before the loss of your child, the most excited or the most happy or the most sad or the most pissed off or the most whatever, name the emotion that you've ever been, was a 10 on a 10, scale of 1 out of 10 was a 10. After your child dies, something crazy happens with your emotions, and you it's very easy, and it happens regularly, where you go from that 10, I call it, the danger zone. So from 10 to 20 or 10 to 15 or whatever, those to me are
yeah,
dangerous because you don't have coping mechanisms to deal with them. And it takes a while to develop healthy coping mechanisms to know that when I'm that pissed off, or I'm that angry, how do I get rid of it to go back down into, 10 and below, where that's my comfort zone. I've my whole life developed those coping mechanisms. But I mean and it's any emotion. I mean, you can be that happy, you can be that sad, you can be that. Mostly the negative emotions are the hardest ones to deal with. But when you go over the 10, there are no coping mechanisms, and it's like starting over from childhood, where you have to develop healthy coping mechanisms. That's where a lot of
yeah,
um, post child loss addiction comes into play. That's where self-soothing comes
yeah.
into play. Anything to numb it. That's the it's a scary part. A lot of what prompted me to open my eyes to the number of people in that chat that day, and thinking, I wonder if they're okay. I hope that they're okay. I hope, what's their story? How are they responding? And I hope that they're okay. Those are the first things I thought. Do they have a
No,
support
I
system?
can relate to that. I can relate to that feeling, that scale, because that's the same reason why I went into helping other victims or survivors, depending on where they're at in their healing of
Hmm.
trafficking, because
Oh yeah.
I I I knew that coping, I knew that when I coming out of it, that there wasn't like my aftercare, there wasn't aftercare, and like when I was rescued, or when that was going on with me, that wasn't
Hmm.
it wasn't even called trafficking back then. It was child
Right.
prostitution. It didn't
Hmm.
even have
Hmm.
and I hate to say it like this, but it didn't have a glamorous name, like child trafficking.
Right.
That wasn't, it didn't have that, it didn't have a nice term to it. It was just
Hmm.
what it was called.
I
And
got you. I can totally see how
yeah,
that could be the same emotional scarring and over. I'm with you. I've never thought about that, but I'm thinking about it now, and I couldn't agree more. I can totally
you
see
know,
how on an emotional level they're very relatable.
yeah. So it was, you know, for me, I grew up, you know, I mean, I called myself every freaking name in the book, you know,
Yeah.
because I heard every name in the book. You know, I grew up with no self-worth because I had no self-worth. I grew
Hmm.
up with none of those things because I never had any of that. And and so when I learned over my age and with a great support system with me, there was no true aftercare for individuals like me. It just wasn't established, and if it was very few and far between.
Hmm.
That and it just wasn't available in my areas. Thankfully, I had a great support system with my father and my siblings and all of those kinds of things. But you know, when I got older, I realized for myself that and a lot of people ask me, why would you go into something like that? Being a survivor of it, why would you put yourself back in it? Into that feelings and emotions and situation. Why would you do that? And I'm like, because I know exactly what they feel like.
Hmm.
I know that feeling, and I remember my first exams. I
Yeah.
remember how difficult that was for me. And um, woo, got a big bug.
It's my bugs. Yeah, the
Um,
bugs have got it. Sorry about that.
got a no, you're fine. Got a big bug. But
It
I
did.
remember, I remember my first exams and how hard and traumatic that was for me. And I don't want any of these victims or survivors to have to feel like that. And I can go about it in a different approach. And I pride myself on that, to bring them in a different way, and to be able to talk realistically to them and approach them and not such a matter of fact manner, like, and not treat them as how they have been treated, you know, and
Yeah.
instead of being very clinical with them, I can be very humble with it. And not that other sane nurses aren't, but I come from a different, I come from their trauma. I know what that feels like. I know it all. And not only as a sane nurse, but I work with an organization, that centers their whole lives around them, and we come with a different aspect, a different everything about it. So we're very fortunate to be around it. But a lot of people they're always like, why would you do that? You know, I could take what happened to me as a negative, or I could take it'll never be a positive, but it can be a positive for somebody else that's gone through that. You know,
Yeah,
what happened to me is never going to be a positive situation on my life, but it'll be a positive situation for somebody else that's been through that situation. And that does amazing justice for me. And it provides, and I like to call it my penance to them, you know. And so it's how I pay back my society, my community. It's my way of giving them everything I got, um,
that makes
because
so
they
much
deserve it.
sense. Has it helped you? Let me ask you that, if I can, if you can tell me that
It
you're not
has it
comfortable.
has it helped? Has it helped me?
Yeah. Has it helped
Abs-
you to kind of sit with the broken and help them find their way?
oh, of course. And before
Hmm.
I became a sane nurse, I'd always um, I'd spoken out. Like um, I'd spoken about my experience. Um, I'd gone to you know meetings and those kinds of things, and that helped in a way. But I
Hmm.
always felt like something was lacking, like like I wasn't doing enough, which is one of the reasons why I became a nurse. I wanted to contribute it back to helping people. Um,
Absolutely, I
and
get it.
I've always been like a help others kind of person. It's a lot easier, and I think that's like a survivor mentality, or a victim mentality, is to you help others because you can't help yourself kind of situation.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's a lot easier to help other people than it is to help yourself. But um, and so or focus on other people because you don't want to focus on yourself, kind of thing. And
yeah,
I eventually kind of realized that I was doing that, but I wasn't really helping me, and I still really needed to help myself. And so going and becoming a sane nurse and doing that was something that I knew like I said, my penance. I knew I needed to do it for me,
hmm,
not for them, but also for me, because
hmm,
I needed to be okay for myself, and helping them in the capacity that I can, and being there for them. And it may be extremely selfish on some levels, but being there for them on that capacity, it helps me tremendously, because I I know their eyes.
hmm.
I see them. I see them for who they are, for the innocence that they've lost, for the misery that they've been through through it all. I see them, and and I and I hope that they are able to see me. You know that you know that 8-year-old little girl right there with them, and we're on an even footing. That I'm not the adult in the room telling them what to do because they're used to people telling them what to do. I'm, you know, I'm right there with them, and I'm 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 asking. I'm not telling, and we move at their pace when they're comfortable, and we talk, and we don't talk about those situations unless we have to. We talk about,
Right.
you know, the things that make them smile. And, you know, I, I do those things, you know, I go about it a completely different way than what I'm trained to do. I still get the same results, but you take a different step with them. You have to.
I think this is an amazing testament. I can relate on a different, on a whole different level.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
with you, I do the same. Like you know, I mean, I've had miscarriages, but I've never lost a child that I birthed. Um, so I mean, I can relate to you in this way because I know those like little detail feelings of things. You know, of course, not to your extent of what you've lost. You know, but for me, it's the my sanctity, it's my innocence, my childness that I lost, and so it's my inner child I lost, and for me, that's just as precious. You
it's a
know,
huge loss.
and
It's a very big
yeah,
loss.
so I didn't have that. You know, I didn't have any of those child childlike qualities. I didn't have it. I didn't get any of it. I didn't get to play with Barbies or Tonka trucks or any of those things. So I
Uh,
didn't get any of that stuff. You
you're an amazingly strong person.
But so are
I
you.
know that
You know, so are you. And I think we're all strong in our own capacity. And
definitely.
I'm no stronger than you are, and I'm no stronger than the next person. We all go through our own personal struggles, and our personal struggles are personal to us, and they're huge to us. And so, you know, I don't compare my trauma to anybody else's trauma, and I don't think my trauma is any bigger than anybody else's. It's not. It's just personal to me, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't like to say, what yours is a stubbed toe and mine's a broken bone. That's, you know, pain is subjective and emotions are subjective. You can't put a you can't put a, a number to it, like when we ask people what's your pain level, it's it's yours. I can't judge
Right.
that. And when you ask somebody how they're feeling, you can't put a number on that. It's theirs. It's their emotion. And I may not be able to understand it or relate to it, but I have to be compassionate to it. And under I have to empathize with that, regardless of if I get it, if I don't get it, if I think it's real, if I don't think it's real. That's not my burden to bear. I All I can do as a human being, as a respectable person, is empathize and be compassionate to that.
Yeah. I get it. When I was a paramedic, we had newer EMTs that would that would do their clinical time with us, or they would have just gotten their license and just got hired on. And there's always, the houses like every weekend that you get called to. And one thing that I always adamantly told the new people, and then they come in with like almost like a God complex. I don't like saying that, but they're just
Yeah,
licensed. They just got their, their card. They're ready to roll all the time. And a couple of months into their career, they're kind of like, oh, here we go again. And I'm like, wait, this is their emergency. We
yeah,
respond to that emergency. It might be routine for us to carry in specific equipment and drugs and whatever, but at the same point, this is their emergency. So we're going to treat it like it's their emergency and it's their first time because we're belittling somebody's pain or their emergency or their situation is not gonna,
Yeah, they're
doesn't make them feel better.
yeah. I mean, like in the ER, we get like we call them frequent flyers.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sweet tea, I love you too, honey. Um, but in the emergency, we get what we call frequent flyers, and those are the individuals that come in on a regular basis, um, who are basically looking for pain meds or opioids or whatever they're looking for. And
Hmm.
they'll do whatever they need to do to get that. So, I mean, we've had people break their own limbs or stab themselves or you name it, they've done it to get it. But
Hmm.
um, but the thing is you know you have to treat the person as a whole, whatever the problem is. Um, it doesn't again it they're stabbing themselves or whatever they're doing to get the fix. So
Hmm.
you don't give them the fix, and you send them off to rehab.
Hmm.
You do what you need to do for that. um it's that's the holistic approach to the problem. you know Eventually, if that person's not getting what they want from your hospital, they'll go to a different hospital.
Right.
And so
So you're
you
treating
you
the
treat
whole patient, the whole
you're
person.
treating exactly, you're trying to treat the problem, because ultimately that problem is the drug seeker, but you don't diminish the person that's doing the behavior. um,
Exactly.
or like, I mean, obviously we see the same problems all the time. It's an emergency room. We see the same thing all the time. But you don't they may not be the same person, and each individual person is different. Two people may come into your emergency room with strep throat. Okay, it's strep
Hmm.
throat. But two people coming into your emergency room with strep throat with two individuals is going to present itself differently. It's going to act
Right.
differently in those two bodies. It's going to do separate things to each individual person. It's they're two completely different individuals, and that's the same way it goes with grief. you know
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
grief for one person and a grief for another person is going to act and be completely different with two different individuals. One person may do this, one person may do that. What this person may do and what this person may do, maybe they're going to be polar opposites, or they may be exactly the same. You never know. It's just different, you know
Hmm.
and you don't judge it. You just treat the person as a whole. And if you're in, I've met a lot of nurses that weren't cut out to be nurses. Met a lot of social workers that weren't meant to be social workers. You
Oh,
know,
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's a
but
desperate need
but
right now.
but if you're and I'm sure there's lots of family members that shouldn't be around people who are grieving. I'm
Definitely.
sure of it. Or friends,
Definitely.
or whoever it is. You find the right people for the problem. And and you have to be, and this is another big thing, you have to be your own advocate, your own personal advocate.
Yes.
Never let anybody stifle your voice. You are worth your fight. You are loved, you are
Absolutely.
supported, and you are worth your fight. Fight for yourself. You're worth it. And if anybody hasn't told you that recently, you are worth your own fight. Fight for yourself.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. I call it grief hijacking. And in your personal situation, there's probably a lot of it's that's the same thing. Um, I call it grief hijacking. People that, um, how are you doing? How are you really doing? They want to know. They ask the invasive questions at the most inappropriate time, and you're kind of like, well, today's just a really, really bad day. Or I tried to go to a motocross track and I couldn't get out of the parking lot, so I just left. You open up and become a little vulnerable and tell them. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean. I lost my, so and so
Yeah.
and so and so. And it's like, I'm not belittling anyone's grief. I don't care what the loss is. I don't care who it is. It's a loss. It's traumatic. It's tragic. It's grief. And it's painful. And everybody, the person that dies is different than everybody else. And your relationship is different than everybody else. And how you respond and react to it is different than everybody else. And you're right. There comes the point that if you don't realize with grieving, if you don't realize that you're not living your life, you're literally letting the days pass by and you're laying in agony and pain. You have to be the one to make the decision and the choice. You can have an army of people supporting and encouraging you and coaching you and showering you with love and encouragement. But the only person that can make the decision to live their life again, crawl out of bed, find some joy in the world, bring the memory of the person that they lost with them. You can remember them in various different ways. You can introduce new people to them with, the memories that you share, the photos, the videos. People are always going to know this is an important person to you, but nobody can do the hard work for you. And it's hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first posts that I made on social media after the funeral and whatnot was a couple of weeks afterwards. And I very vulnerably wrote this long post about just how miserable it was. And I've compared it to childbirth. I compared it to the pain of being 8 and 9 months pregnant and going through the labor and the delivery. I no medication, completely as natural as possible, but it was worth it. All of that pain, all of that suffering, all of that agony, all of that misery was worth it because I had a baby at the end. And he was mine. And with grief,
Yeah.
it's kind of the same. You have the pain, the agony, the misery, all of those things. And so it almost feels like there's no reward in the end. Like there's no payoff. there's no payoff. The payoff, I can now say for me personally, the payoff is that I had 21 years, 9 months, and 29 days with him of, you know, not very many bad days, not very many disagreements or arguments, normal life. But when I look back, every moment mattered, every moment was important. And if the pain today means he called me mom, for 21 years, 9 months, and 29 days, it doesn't seem like such a miserable sacrifice because the alternative would be that he never existed, that I never had him, and that he never belonged to me. He never called me mom. And it goes back to I don't want to live in a world where he never existed. So, what Emergency Me is talking about is kind of this you have to make the decision. And with grief, you have to make the decision. It has to be yours. Nobody can do it for you. It's it's an act of love to support somebody in grief and encourage them. And I'll always do it. I'm always here for it. I'm always here to cheer somebody on. Always. No judgment ever from me. Yeah. But
Now, I have a
you
good
have
friend
to
of
keep
mine
it.
who says, you either get busy living or get busy dying. And I'm sure that's
It's
from a
true.
movie or something. But um, it, it's, it's so resounding to me because
Hmm.
you're either going to get busy living or you're just going to sit there and you're getting busy dying, but you're getting busy doing
Yeah.
something, you know,
Yeah.
and I completely agree with it, you know, and, you know, I get it, you know, whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, or if you don't believe in anything, um, you know, I believe in God, and you know, I believe, you know, God gave us a life to do something amazing with it,
Hmm.
um, and I choose to do something amazing with my life. I may fall, I may, you know, pick myself up every day, and I may not succeed every day, but I'm gonna try to do something amazing every day. And if that just means getting up today, that means I'm getting the hell up today. Um,
Yeah,
but I'm doing something, you know. I'm gonna live, and I choose life every day. You know, I choose that. I do not choose to die today. I'm choosing to live today. I'm gonna get up and, you know, find a purpose, find a focus, find something, and, you know, choose joy. Choose joy,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and, and choose joy out of, you know, the hate, the whatever it is. Choose the joy.
I agree. I agree. There's one, yeah, I couldn't agree more. You have to make the conscious decision and you have to do the hard work. There's tons of resources. Resources are other people's stories, other people's survival stories. That bug is dead. Ooh, it's trying to get away. I'm gonna have to move it. Um, I know I got to get up and move it. Holy smacks, that was a great big enormous moth. Holy crap. Die, sucker. That sounds so heartless. The ones that bite you? Man, there's some big ones down here. Um, I feel
Oh
like when it
man.
comes to, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I could not agree more. Um, what I want to add to that with specifically with like, child loss grief is that there's always going to be those times that hurt excessively. There's going to be the dates, the memories. First time one of Cody's friends got married, first time one of Cody's friends had a baby, first time, Cody's bike didn't cross the finish line. I mean, those are moments that hurt. They're moments in the day that hurt. And there's some days that suck. This whole week, miserable. Um, it feels good to talk about him, and I think that that helps me to, you know, this week especially. I feel like talking to people freely and without judgment definitely helps. But when you have those really bad moments and those really bad days, allow them, lean into them, feel them, let them run their course. Think of it you know, um, like a bucket that has filled up and you have to get some of it out because you can't carry it with you all the time. It's too heavy, it's too much. So allowing that time, but giving that time a limit and knowing when enough is enough. And it sucks and it's not fair that you have to do that, that you have to feel that, that type of way at any point. But when you let that bucket stay fully loaded, fully filled, and you try to carry it around with you everywhere you go to work, to church, to social events, to the shower, to bed, you're carrying this bucket that's flowed over. And I personally feel like when you are so weighted down with hurt and anger, frustration, all the negative emotions that we naturally carry, without giving those the space to run their course and empty the bucket a little bit, you can't really concentrate on anything else. You can't feel anything else because that is it's too much. It's too much to put on yourself. And it's unfortunately not like mowing the grass or doing the laundry. You can ask somebody else to do it. It's your love and it's your grief, and it's never going to be fair. It's never going to, it's never not going to hurt. It never gets easier. You just learn to accommodate it better. But there's absolutely a way to do it in a positive way and to live your life. I feel like if I don't choose happy and if I don't choose life, and if I don't choose to get up and move forward, and create something new for myself, then, it's like, um, it's more than just a part of me died with him. It turns into, I've given up and then he never existed because the world is not going to, it's not about making people remember him. I'm not selfish like that, but he did leave an impact on the world. He's a huge part of me. He's not here anymore. So the people that are close to me or that are important to me, I want them to know who they are. I want them to know who they are. So give yourself those bad moments, empty the bucket, and then walk away from the negativity of the emotion, put your best foot forward, put your smile on, and do something. Move forward and bring those memories and that loss with you, that you're doing it in a positive way. Your story, every flippin' story, every pain, every suffer, every loss is a story. Sometimes sharing those stories with other people um, is really rewarding. Sometimes it shows you how strong that you really could be. You might think that nobody wants to hear them, but somebody out there, there's a plethora of people out there that are going to hear your story and what you've gone through and what you've lost and the child's story, and it's going to resonate with them. It's going to make them get their ass up and start living life so more people can hear about what you've lost. And that, to me, that's important. Super important that people know that their loss matters, whether it's the loss of a child, the loss of anybody, or loss of childhood. I mean, loss is loss. Not one person's is more important than the other. But emergency me, I think that I love having you on panel. I love your
Well,
opinion
thank you.
about things. I love your perspective. I really do.
Well, thank you. I think, a big thing that a lot of people have to remember is that the loss of something is the growth of something else. And every story of, of you overcoming something is a story of growth.
Yeah.
You you grew from it. It doesn't have to be a graceful growth. It doesn't have to be,
Right.
you know, it doesn't have to be pretty.
It's gonna be
Nobody's
bumpy.
judging. Yeah, nobody. But see, that's the only person that's going to be judging your growth is you. And a lot of people think that other people are going to be judging. They're judging my growth, But again,
Hmm.
it's that positive perspective on it. And I'm big on that positive perspective. Um, I mean, I would love somebody to judge my success because I don't see anything I've done in my life as a failure. It got me to where I'm at. And again,
Hmm.
it wasn't pretty. It was not spectacular. And it was not glorious at times. But it got me here. And I'm really proud of myself.
Oh yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
real, I'm, but the thing is I'm not looking for anybody else to be proud of me. I'm proud of me. I'm really happy with what I've done. And so, you know, I'm good with myself. I'm, I'm, you know, I'm not looking for anybody else's praise. I'm not looking, people can say, you messed up. Great. That's wonderful. Fantastic.
Hmm.
I don't, I don't care because it doesn't matter to me. I know what
Right.
I did. I know what I achieved. I know what I failed at, and I know I accomplished and grew from it. And I'm here right now. You know, I'm happy in my job. I'm so amazingly happy with my husband. I'm happy with my family. I'm great in all of those aspects. Is there things that I would love to change in my life? Sure. And I hope everybody has those things because
Right.
again, it's
Yeah.
all about growth in life. You want to strive for lots of things, but I'm not going to hit the reverse button.
Exactly. We don't get a redo in life. We don't get to go back. I mean, I wish we did, but we don't.
No. Yeah, but I wouldn't hit the reverse button. I wouldn't, because for me, and I can't speak for anybody but myself. I couldn't even speak for my husband if I wanted to. I wouldn't. He's a grown man. He can speak for himself. That's not my
Hmm.
responsibility. I can only speak for me. And in my life, there's nothing back there for me except more growth for me.
That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. that's something to think about. That really does make sense. I think it does. I think it makes a lot of sense. Growth is, I mean, it's always there's always growth. I mean, you're right. You're very right. We got a question
And
on
I
here.
think, oh,
Go ahead.
okay.
No, go ahead.
I think, for Cody, I think Cody, growth for Cody was a big thing, a part of his life. He talked about it, and just in his posts.
Hmm.
Growth was a big part of his life. As it would be for any 21-year-old boy or any 21-year-old person. But growth
Hmm.
is a big thing, and if he knew that you would stop your growth and he could have a conversation with you about it, what would he say to you? What the hell are
Right.
you doing?
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
exactly what I would
So,
say. Ma, get up.
you know,
Get up, Ma.
what are you doing? So it's, again, it's those types of things that, you look at yourself and you say, what? What am I doing? And when you have those conversations with yourself, if you have those conversations with yourself, whenever it happens, it's not going to be your voice that you hear. It's not going to be my voice that you hear. It's not going to even be anybody that's memorable. It's going to be the people that matter. It's not going to be Jennifer Aniston or, Megan Fox. It's going to
Right.
be it's going to be their voices you hear saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's go. Come on." And and I look forward for those days when they do happen, if they happen. You know, you just got to get there, and you'll get there.
Yeah, that's true. You're
Just
so
like Creative
smart.
Cater.
You say all the smart things that I can't put into words. That's why I love having you on panel. But it always makes sense. I mean, it always makes sense. Tater asked, do you see signs like stains, birds? I believe my mom shows me she's okay now. Um, I feel some type of way sometimes. There's sometimes that I think I think he's around, kind of looking in, you know. I have dreams that are very realistic. I have dreams, oh my gosh, I should share that for another stream, but I have the most amazing dreams of him, and I fully believe that they're visits from him because they come at specific times, kind of when I really need, you know, a visit from him. I have dreams and I wake up smelling two-stroke engine oil. I know you know what that smells like. And I'm a little bit worn out. And the view is just spectacular. And I mean, I feel like I've been with him for hours. And it's always at a specific time. Some people are like, well, it's because it's what you need to hear, or you know what he would say, but that's not really true all the time. I mean, you know, he was kind of growing into his own person. So, but there was something that happened here recently. I'm gonna turn the screen back on to put this. I'm gonna play this video. I was sitting out here on the deck not long ago, and this was the first time that this has ever happened. And it was on one of those, you know, those days I had noticed on the calendar, you know, kind of getting um to this week. It was coming up faster than what I thought I was ready for. And I never said anything, you know, like show me a sign or anything like that. But this is the first time this has ever happened. I want to share it with you. Oops. Emergency, I think I muted you on accident. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. I told you I'll mute this. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the thing there and then try to play it. I'll figure out what's up with the screen share thing. But do you see the little cardinal right there? So I was outside on the deck in the morning, and this little oh, where'd it go? Wait a minute. Sorry. This little bird showed up, and I mean super close to me. I was trying to zoom in on it. Like that's the first time I've heard the story about cardinals. I've had, so many people tell me about cardinals or signs and visits and things like that. But I had never experienced anything like that ever. There's I've been on trains before where actual eagles would swoop down and fly next to the window. And the first thought that went through my head was kind of like, ooh, Cody loved eagles. Um, a little part of me wanted to think that maybe that was a sign that that was a visit. Um, this cardinal kind of got me a little bit because I never had a cardinal that close to me. I'd like to feel like it is. I'd like to think like it is. It feels good when something like that happens, and I always immediately think of Cody. I wish I knew that there was a way that they could visit us or that they could swoop in or something. But I will I'll pull out an old journal entry from the first time that I had one of these dreams where he wakes me up in the middle of the night and I walk outside. It's like a whole new world. This beautiful motocross track and him on his bike. And it's a very real to me. It sounds, I've told a couple of people and I always watch their face. Like, what are they thinking? Because it does sound a little cray cray, but I 100% believe that when I'm desperate to feel him or to see him, talk to him, I 100% believe that these dreams are him, and he's reassuring me that he's okay. They're beautiful, but they're so hard at the same time. There's always that time when he has to leave, and I can't go with him, and that is, that part sucks. But in the dreams, he looks the same. He sounds the same. He's happy. His eyes are shining. He doesn't have any bruises on his face or anything like that, and they feel very, very, very real. But the cardinal, that's the first time. See, I see the chat. People are saying that they have cardinals. They have cardinal incidents too. See, I never knew that cardinals signified anything like that at all. You have dreams too. I do too. I'm telling you, they're the most vivid, beautiful, amazing. Like the color of everything is so vibrant and different. It's so much more beautiful. You can hear the sound of like birds flapping their wings and butterflies. It's it's like nothing I've ever experienced. And we don't talk. Like our mouths are moving and we can see each other face to face, and you're watching somebody talk to you, their mouth moving and you're hearing it. It's not like that. It's all in your head. He talks to me, I hear it in my head. I talk to him, and it's just so different, but the sky is a vibrant blue. The trees are a whole different shade of like emerald green. It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Tater, I'm so glad that you came tonight. Somebody 12 to be arrested for bullying. Oh my gosh, Dana.
I absolutely
Oh my
adore
god.
Dana. I
I
adore
do
her.
too. Dana's another one of these people that just I've never seen her face to face, but everything about her tells me she's just absolutely amazing. Dana, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. I'm so glad that you shared. I hope you know I'm here for you for anything. I'm so sorry that you've had to experience anything like that. That's terrible. Gosh, Dana, I could cry right now. People are mean. Mean world. I wish I could take all of this bullying and meanness and just shove it back in people's throats and let them feel it, you know? Wish I
Yeah.
could erase it from the world. It's just crap. Yeah, that's the. I mean, I'm not sure if there's signs. I hope, but it'd be interesting to know what everybody else thinks. You know, what everybody if everybody else experiences anything,
Well,
like
um,
signs.
my my grandmother um, was obsessed with sunsets. And I live in a place where we have sunsets all the time, beautiful sunsets. But uh, so we kind of take them for granted. But um, uh, there's like very specific sunsets that she would just gawk over. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, when she um, the the day she passed away, that night was one of those sunsets. It was, just absolutely breathtaking sunset. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and every time we've had like one of those sunsets, someone significant in my life has passed away.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and so it's like for me, it's a sign that like something tragic is going to happen. Um,
Wow.
like it inevitably, it's something. Um, and so any, I take it as a sign, um,
Yeah.
as a like
Wow.
a prepare yourself kind of situation, from her. And I don't, I have no idea, but that's kind of how I take it. But um, and since she's passed away, uh, one of those sunsets has only happened 5 times, and each time it's been somebody significant in my life that's passed away. So,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
that'd be interesting to see how many people have any kind of a sign like that. My mother's family would talk about some stuff like that, birds flying into windows or something like that. But I haven't really put any credence with it until
yeah,
I hear other people talk about stuff like that. I'd be super interested in hearing about stuff like that. I really would.
yeah. I if when I see it, I'm like, oh no,
Wow.
oh no.
See, I just want to know everything about it. I want to know everything about, I don't know, I guess everything about, not necessarily the afterlife or anything like that, but it would be nice to know if we're self-soothing by feeling things like that, or if, you know, if they're really true. Valerie says, it's like you know they're there, and you know, it's like you know they're there, and you know they're there. I had one so bright. Couldn't see. Wow, really? I guess they're pretty common. See, now I want to know all of the stuff about this. We should address this on a upcoming live stream, where people can tell their experiences. I would absolutely love to hear about these. I would love to. Let's see. There's a video. I watched that video and I was just shook. I was like, oh my god, I know that uniform. Kind of took me back. I was like, oh no. I know that little man brought back memories. What video are you talking about, Katie? I have to go back to the comments and see what they're talking about. Hmm.
So it was the Delphi case that brought you in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Yep. I was a woman working with a whole bunch of men. There was only two of us us women that worked in that pool where we took trains from north central Ohio, where our home terminal was, into Peru, Indiana. Peru is not even 30 minutes away from Delphi. These are very
Yeah.
small communities in central Indiana where, everybody knows everybody kind of thing. But that was such a huge tragedy that there's flyers out everywhere. The first flyer I seen was the missing flyers for Abby and Libby. And somebody in the community of, Peru, Indiana, put those out. And so I think I know who it is, but I don't want to say anything without knowing for sure. But she's an avid viewer of Gray. And so I believe she was the one that put the new flyers up that said, for more information, go to Gray Hughes Investigates. Of course, the family, was on there talking to Gray about things, and he kind of had, well, he definitely had a lot more information than what local media outlets were putting out. And I liked the way that he he let you know what was fact and he let you know what was a rumor or speculation. But his
Yeah.
maps really gave perspective. And that's what brought me. And like I said, from there it was, I wish I could remember the exact order, but from there it was like Orrin and Orson West out in California City. And I'm not sure why that one grabbed my attention, to be honest with you. I was really, I was almost addicted to watching this case because the Delphi case, simply because nobody knew who did this. Nobody knew why. Nobody knew the MO. Nobody knew, what tactic that he used. Nobody knew anything. And I'm in this strange city every other day. Um, and I would, because I'm a woman, single, I would go eat somewhere, and suddenly I noticed how many men that look like Bridge Guy were in the room. All of
Yeah.
the men in that area look like a Bridge Guy, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I was constantly looking over my shoulder, looking at guys I worked with. I was in a dorm where tons of community were coming in and eating. And so I was a little scared of who in the hell could do this. You wouldn't want to think that you would know somebody that was capable of that. But the truth of it is somebody did it and somebody's related to that somebody. But yeah, it totally drew me in and it gave me a ton of perspective to see that a community and an entire family of these two little girls, both of their families, have no idea the truth of what happened to them and how it happened. They have no idea who murdered them. They have no idea the last things that these girls said. They know nothing about the end for them. And, they were out there putting flyers out. They were out there talking to the media. They went on Dr. Phil. I mean, they were living a painful life, but they were doing it. And it kind of made me feel a little selfish. I mean, there's people that don't ever know what happens to their children or their loved ones. They have no clue. So many missing people in the world, and they go years without finding out what happened. And that really got me. It was just kind of like, at least I got the answers. His death, the puzzle initially, what the hell happened? How did this happen? The puzzle pieces all came together for me, talking to the ER staff, talking to, the people that were there. It put it together for me. So to see the people, even now today, to see the people that never, somebody goes missing and it's reported and it's on the news and then it's on social media, I watch because it keeps me humble and it keeps me aware of, at least I know, at least I got to have those, ceremonies. He has a resting place, a place I can go and mother the earth kind of thing. And some of these people, without question, without warning, without choice, they don't get that. And it
Yeah. They
makes
get
me,
nothing.
yeah, they get nothing. They get no answers and they get no empathy or understanding from other people. They get blame and accusations. And that's what's kept me here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's what's kept me here. I want to know how some of these cases end. I also would love to see people put in check for the way that they treat family members. That's a huge one for me. It's hard to
Yeah.
see. I think there's a time and a place. If you find out that a child was hurt or God forbid killed by their parent, put that son of a bitch under the jail, you know?
Yeah.
But let law enforcement do their job. That's kind of, I don't know, it's almost like, I'm going to say this, and I know firsthand what a train wreck is like. I got dragged by one about 500 feet, but it's like, people can't, the people that can't stop watching the train wreck, I can't stop watching those people that are judging every person involved.
Yeah.
I'm watching the people that are judging, and I'm just as in shock and in awe about how they're acting and treating people that they don't know. And, they're acting like law enforcement, like judge, jury, prosecutor, everything. And I'm kind of like, wow, man, it's something. It's, I don't get it. And I'm starting to realize I'm never gonna get it. I'm never gonna understand, and it's probably never gonna stop. That's why I say supporting the good channels is weeding out the bad channels. I said that in many chats recently, that if you want to
Yeah.
hold a bad creator responsible, don't watch. And you can say whatever to them, but they're just gonna spin your words. But if you don't watch them, there's channels that I will never watch because they allow that
Yeah.
hatred. And I like Tiffany Marie because Tiffany
Me
Marie,
too.
to me, I don't care about her involvement in the drama community. I don't give two shits what she did 2, 3, 4 years ago. She's clearly
Yeah.
grown past that stuff because she's not in those communities anymore. And so I didn't know her then. I'm not going to go seek out the trash or whatever. I know how she presents the cases today, and she has a passion for Summer Wells and finding the truth without, you know, without allowing hatred for people beyond what's reasonable, in my opinion. It's safe to say
Yes.
that Summer didn't have a great life, a great home life. But is that because she was abused, or is that because they're a poor family? And because people who don't live they didn't grow up poor, or they don't have poor friends, can't relate to that. I don't know. It's not for me to judge. But I like how Tiffany presents Summerwell's case. She talks about the facts. She holds people accountable for the shit stirring and the dark humor,
Hmm.
so to speak. And I'm
Absolutely.
gonna, I'm gonna continue to watch Tiffany. And I don't care how many of them drama people call me out in videos. I'm not gonna entertain it. I'm just not. Um,
Yeah.
I adore Tiffany. She's been great to me. She has really done good for me she has done a good thing for me when it comes to giving me a voice and confirming that I'm strong enough to do something like this. I never would have done it
Yeah.
without her channel
Now,
that day in that channel and her after that. I'd went back to lurking.
yeah. No, Tiff for me is um, a saving grace, and I mean that with everything I have. You know, and people will question they will question everything, and that's fine. They can question everything. I don't need to defend Tiffany. Tiffany's a big girl. She can handle her own business. I
Absolutely. She's
don't I
strong.
don't I don't need to. But where I always come from is by questioning Tiffany, you're ultimately questioning me because
Absolutely.
I support Tiffany. And if you're questioning Tiffany, you're questioning me because I support her. I I talk to her. I I'm yeah, I don't know her personally, but I know her. And in that realm, you know, I have I have my own reputation to keep. I have my own mind. I have my own life. My, I can make up my own decisions. Nobody has ever told me what to think, how to feel. And I'll be damned if somebody did, quite honestly. I dare somebody to tell me how I feel, how to speak, how to walk, how to talk, how to live a life, which direction to go, how to get there, any of those things. Try me. Not
Hmm.
going to happen.
Right.
And um, so by somebody saying, you support Tiffany Marie? Yeah, I do. because
Hmm.
I've never seen Tiffany do anything but the utmost respect for not only me, but the people that also support her, and for Summer.
Right.
She has done she has done everything that I would do as
Hmm.
as a staunch supporter of victims, as a as a, a professional advocate for patients,
Hmm.
as a professional advocate for survivors and victims of horrible essay. She has
Hmm.
done everything that I personally would do. And if I
Yeah.
ever disagree with her, I am free at any moment to go to her and say, hey, girl, I didn't agree with that, or I'm not okay with that. And we are able to talk openly and honestly at any moment and any time and reasonably talk it out because we
Absolutely.
have respect for each other.
I can testify to
Real,
that. I absolutely
re-
can. I can absolutely testify to that.
and so when people say anything, about that, it's like you're not only degrading Tiffany, but you're ultimately degrading me because
I agree.
I know what you supposedly say what she's doing in the background is not what's going on in the background that I am personally aware of. And
Right.
so if she's doing it beyond the background that I can see, it's a real small freaking background.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Really
there's a
small.
lot of people that are involved in there's a lot of, I don't want to say involved with, but there's a lot of people that have um that have like discords. In Discord there's, like the private chat area, and there's a lot of people that are there's I'll say, there's definitely more than a handful of people that are having conversation all the time. I mean,
Yeah, and we're
there's
pervy.
accountability, 100%
Yeah, we're
accountability and
pervy.
checks and balances.
Yeah, we're pervy to those conversations. And if there was
Hmm.
ever a problem, I would say something. If I thought something was
Absolutely. Yeah,
wrong, I would say something. And not only me, but other people would say something. We would say
for
it and
sure.
say,
For
hey,
sure.
this is not okay.
Right.
Again, we're not subservience.
Absolutely. We're not an echo
We're will
chamber. We sometimes
Yeah,
disagree, but we know how to do it respectfully.
absolutely. We're willing participants to a point. This isn't Nobody's holding any guns to anybody's heads. It's not like that at all,
Right.
and it never will be, you know. And so, and AB is very much the same way, you know.
Hmm.
It's a I
Yeah,
support
very much.
AB wholeheartedly, you know, and anybody that again that questions his or questions his motives or questions anything again is an attack on I feel is an attack on me personally. And
Hmm.
you know not, I don't like that, or anybody that comes after you, or anybody that that's with not I won't say with us because I hate the us versus them and all of those kinds of things.
Right.
I
I know
don't
what you
like
mean.
that mentality. I don't like those kinds of mentality
Hmm.
against each and every one of us, you know,
But we are a
because
group. We are a group of people that
yeah,
care about each other for sure. Definitely.
exactly.
There's no
We
hatred
def
among us.
Absolutely, and we act like adults. We approach each other like adults, and we come with a compassionate, kind heart. And
Right.
I think that's the major majority of what's going on. And either you are a part of that or you are not a part of that. And
Hmm.
um and so, you know, um there's definitely been times, with something that someone has said and in Discord or someplace else that I've been like, hey, don't say that, or be careful of how you're saying something, or
Hmm.
be conscientious of what you're saying and how you're saying it, or whatever. But again, it comes from a place of love and respect and
Right.
hope. It's not, you're a fucking dumbass and you shouldn't be talking like that and blah 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 blah, making you an outcast or anything like that. That's you're not going to get anywhere with anybody talking to anybody like that. That's
Right.
just not the place. That's not the way to approach anybody ever. You
No,
wouldn't do
you're
it
not getting anything
with
accomplished.
you wouldn't talk like that with anybody on the street, at your job, at ever. So it's not appropriate to do that with just people in general. If you wouldn't act like that with your, coworkers or just random people on the street, and not expect repercussions for your actions in that, in that behavior, then don't act like that in on YouTube or in social media or wherever you're doing it, because it's not acceptable behavior, and you shouldn't be doing it, and I don't believe it should be tolerated, in my personal opinion. But again, I'm not the YouTube police. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just a person on YouTube. Yeah, but I think YouTube should have stricter rules and stricter policies and all those kinds of things. But again, I'm just a participant here, and if I get too tired of it, I close it out and I don't participate.
Yeah. Here's something
But
that came to, I don't know, I kind of picked up on, or not really picked up on, but I noticed was with recently with all this BS with Bombshell. I noticed that these people I never heard of, this whole drama community BS, they like to, I've had people send me links, and whatnot, and I go to and click on the link, and I'm, looking at this channel, somebody I've never seen or heard of. A couple of them, I've heard of. Maybe they tried to cover a true crime case or something like that. But here's where I'm going with all of this is, um, they're still in that same community, tearing each other apart limb to limb. They're still sitting on a panel talking about the same shit, tearing each other apart, calling each other names, digging up each other's pasts, going to town. This this toxic, ridiculous behavior. What they don't acknowledge, and I think it's what keeps me from ever giving them a view or ever partaking in any kind of drama on YouTube. It's such a turn off to me for one reason. Tiffany has removed herself from that environment. She said, it's not for me anymore. She's grown past it, and she's, found her place in the true crime community, and she's doing a damn good job. And so when people are not willing to even acknowledge, you don't have to agree, but to even acknowledge that she no longer participates in that, back and forth drama stuff. Don't get me wrong, somebody comes in the chat and gets sideways, she gonna call them out on it. If somebody shows up in the community that, is affiliated with her YouTube channel and what she's doing, and they attack her people, she's gonna have an opinion about that. She's gonna call it out. There's nothing wrong with calling it out. It's not reverting back to drama. But if somebody is sitting on a freaking drama channel talking shit about somebody who's moved beyond that drama, then I'm not going to. I don't know if I'm the only person that's like this, but to me, Tiffany's the bigger person that's grown past all of that crap. And so I have no interest in the person talking shit because they're still sitting at the same table talking the same narrative about the same people how many years later. And so that to me, that I don't know, it's kind of like watered down, lingo that I'm not interested in. I'm not here for that shit to begin with. But when they can't acknowledge that Tiffany's no longer a part of that community, no matter how hard they try to drag her back to it, um, I have nothing, I
yeah,
have nothing for them. I'm not going to talk shit about them, but I'll tell them it definitely makes you unattractive to why I'm here. She's grown past it. Whether
Yeah.
I don't care what she did a couple of years ago. It's irrelevant to me. I really don't care because all of them are doing the same shit. They're all scamming each other. They're all subbing for subs. They're all grouping up, rallying and going after, certain people. They're all doing their thing. Tiffany's not partaking in it. They come looking for her. They might get it one time to say, knock it off. I'm not a part of that community. But to not acknowledge that she's grown past that and created her own space in a different genre that has nothing to do with what they're doing says so much to me about, her dedication to what she's doing, her maturity, her just her whole demeanor. I mean, people change when they're willing to get up from the same
Yeah.
table they've been eating at for how many years. You got to get up and move. You can't stand and say you're a different person and you're still doing the same shit. Tiffany is not doing
Yeah.
that anymore. To me, that's credibility, that's growth, that's, she's doing great things. And so I think she knows people are going to
Yeah.
come for her because she's doing good things. But you're right. She's a very
Mhm.
strong woman, which is what drew me to her to begin with. I found her
Yeah.
through AB covering the California City Boys. And when there's a strong woman, a single woman who is making her way in the world, and she's doing it on her own, from her own credibility, her own strength, she's drawing from her own bucket to accomplish what she's, set out to do. I am for it. I'm for it. And I don't care
Yeah.
what she did. I truly don't give two shits what somebody says that she did a long time ago. It has no relevancy what she's doing today at all.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
You know, I, I mean, if if people want to hold somebody accountable for the worst thing that they ever did in their life, ever,
Yeah.
forever,
While
then more
protecting their
power to you.
secrets with their own life. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Because
exactly. I mean,
because for
then
me
if you're gonna
it goes
if
to
you're
that
it,
getting in the arena.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna hold, for example, if you're gonna hold Tiffany accountable for her worst thing she's ever done in her life
Mhm.
that you're aware of, okay, that you're aware of. And we'll bring up the stupid Dunkin' Donuts thing because it's so
Mhm.
stupid. But and everybody wants to twist it and make it into something that's not. But whatever. But if you want to hold that incident to her, then make sure you bring your worst incident too and bring it to the forefront so that
Absolutely.
we can all judge your worst incident and compare the two. And if you're not willing to
Absolutely.
do that, then shut up because I'm not bringing forth my worst incident ever and letting you judge me for it. I'm not
Hmm.
doing it. I wouldn't do it
Absolutely.
because it's none of your business. It's my
Right.
life. The only person at the end of the day that gets to judge me for it, I was never arrested. I was never in trouble like that. But to me, it's my worst incident I've ever done in my life. It's
Hmm.
mine. It's my shame to bear. It's mine. But
Right.
but people are so quick to judge other people for some stupid, again, it's so petty. YouTube is so petty.
Hmm.
But people are so quick to judge other people for stupid stuff that they find that's relevant, but they will not bring their own truth forward.
Absolutely. They won't even
Before you
show their
point a
face
mirror,
or say their
yeah,
name.
before you
Yeah.
point a mirror, before you point a finger, point yourself to a mirror. And until
Hmm.
that mirror is spotless, don't point a finger
Right.
because it'll never
Yeah.
be a
Shut up.
spotless mirror ever. It'll never
That's
be a
right.
spotless mirror. You'll never be a perfect person. And until you are a perfect person, you don't get to judge other people. And you're not perfect. You'll never be perfect. So, quite frankly, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Okay?
I think it's a
And
huge
and
deflection.
Yeah, and it is, and that's fine. People get to have a channel, and I'm not saying, I'm not about a cancel culture. I'm not about it at all. If you want a channel,
Right.
have a channel. You and I'm just about doing it the proper way. Just be
Absolutely.
honest. If
Right. There's laws
just be
and rules
honest.
for a reason.
You know,
Absolutely.
I'm just
These people that
I'm
are
just about being
screaming at
honest.
the rooftops. Absolutely. It's, yeah, if you're not willing to, I agree with you. If you're not willing to show, you know, your your bad deeds from the past, we all have them. We've all done shit we're not proud of. We've all had moments we wish that we could redo. Every single human being that's an adult does. And I think these people that are standing around pointing and screaming are one, deflecting from anybody looking at them, and two, I think it's I don't really, I mean, I see it as like bullying and whatever, but like there's rules and laws against it. Like we have terms of service, that
Yeah.
jackass that continues on an almost daily basis, if not weekly, put my social media out there and um attempt, to use my legal names and my address, and all of that stuff. And the same thing with my son now. See, I see a progression with it. Like it was me, and now it's about my son. I wonder what they're hiding, It makes me
Oh.
start digging into them. I don't want to be like that. I 100% don't want to be like that. That's why I had
Mm-mm.
nothing to do with seeking out this drama community once, I heard that they all had opinions about so many people. But there's never going to be trash on Tiffany on this channel ever, not ever in
No.
any form, because I see who she is today, and who she is today is an amazing, strong woman that she has literally created a great place, a very supportive and strong place of men and women both that
Yeah.
are just 100% there for the right reason. They're supportive of each other, doing the right thing, and I don't care who judges
Yeah.
me for that. I really don't. I don't go to
Yeah.
I don't have the energy for it. But um,
It's
same thing
like,
with AB. I just
if
can't say enough about
for
him.
all of those people, yeah, for all those, like I said, for, the people that are bringing, you know, any of your stuff. Yeah, I'm big on don't give them oxygen to breathe, smother the haters out. And so, you know, and I know on some circumstances you can do that, but yeah, my thing is if you want to bring, and I'm not going to even speak their names because again, that's giving them credence, and they don't, I don't have it to give, I
Hmm.
don't have, you know, to say somebody's name is, a name to me is really, really important, and I'll explain that for myself. Um, I think a name is one of the most significant things, that your parents gave that to you, your
Hmm.
name, um, and they took time and effort and energy into giving it to you. Um, my birth name was stolen from me, uh, when I was, um, when I was sold. That name died with that little girl, and um, uh, I never used it. I was given a different name, and when my biological father told everybody that he killed me, that name and that little girl died with uh, with her, and that she's buried next to my mother. And when I was rescued, I was given a new name, um, and like on uh, when I was like anything I use on the internet, anything I give out online, anything I do is it's all fake. Um, I don't ever give out. my name. It's
Hmm.
I'm never going to have my name stolen again from me. It's very personal to me.
Yeah, I can
Um,
understand why.
it, it's mine. You know, I don't I
Hmm.
don't just give that it out freely. And so for me to say someone's name is giving them a credence. It's giving them that personality, that meaning to them. And so I don't say your name unless it's significant, unless it
Hmm.
means something to me, to you, to whatever. Um, and so I'm not going to give any of these people their name because they don't deserve it, in my opinion. And um, they don't need that recognition. So for the people that are attacking you over and over and over again, and they are free, they feel that they're free to dox who you are, to say your name,
Hmm.
to say where you live, to do all of these things to you. Say your name first.
Right.
Show where you live. They think it's okay to talk about your son. Well, I want to know who your mother is. I want to see her face. I want to know who's
Yeah.
important in your life, who you're willing to show all your information about. Who's important and who are you willing to show to the world? Who's who's significant in your life that you're willing to expose to the whole world? That's what you're doing ultimately to the people that you're doing it to. And if
Hmm.
you're okay with that, you're truly okay not only giving up your identity, you're all of you, and not just all of you, but all of the people that you care about, their jobs, what they make, where they live,
Hmm.
how they get to work every day, their criminal history, everything there is about them. If you're okay doing it to your family, your loved ones, the people that you care about,
Yeah. Someone's gonna dig it up on them. I mean, it happens. Somebody puts some crap out, and next thing you know, there's other people digging on them. They go for the throat, and it's just not necessary. To me,
yeah,
personally, it makes
it's
that
never going to be
person that's
okay.
doing it someone that I want nothing to do with. I'm never going to invest any
Yeah,
time or anything in that person ever.
yeah, and see, and because you have the class, you're classy, you know. They're lacking that. They're lacking class ultimately. Like,
Yeah,
for me,
no morals.
yeah, for me, I'm a and I hate to say that because it makes me sound special or something, but I'm a protected victim. I'm a protected survivor. And my
Hmm.
case is, like my case is sealed by the federal government. And so if you come after like me or,
Hmm.
you know, anybody associated to me or, my case or anything like that, I don't have to go after you. I don't have to even, I don't have to do anything. The federal government will do it. They will, and it doesn't matter where you live in this world, you will be found responsible, and any persons associated to doing it will be held responsible and you will be charged. It doesn't matter if you live in Indonesia, it doesn't matter
Hmm.
where you are, they will prosecute you
And you
because
talking to
my,
real feds, not Jody C. Brown feds.
yeah, oh, no, yeah, no, not at all. You know, my case is federal and they don't care because it's a
I'm
sealed
so
case,
glad. I'm so
you know,
glad that that
and
protection's in place. Absolutely, it should be. Absolutely, 100%. They owe
but
you that.
and I and well, You know, it's not something I enjoy, but at the same time, I don't like that part of it. But at the same time, I also have to be extremely careful with myself.
Hmm.
So I have everything that I could possibly do to set myself up so that I can protect myself. Because and I'm very open and honest with the world that please, 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 please don't do anything stupid because I don't want anything to happen to you. I don't,
Yeah.
because they will. I know they will. They've done it
Oh
before.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
And and there's 29 other individuals associated to my case. I'm not the only one. And not everybody was arrested. And
Mm.
you don't want to be a part of the people that weren't arrested. Trust me.
Yeah.
So it's a situation you don't ever want to get yourself involved with. I never wanted to be involved with it. I had no choice. I was 6 years old. I never wanted to be a part of it. I'm so fucking lucky I'm out of it. I'm so
Yeah.
lucky that I got to move on from it. And so did the 29 other people that were involved. Don't dig yourself a hole if you are looking anywhere near me. It's stupid. You won't
Yeah. Very
go
much
to a
so.
lovely place. But if that's what you're interested in, fucking fine, you know. But
Right.
fair warning, I'm giving you fair warning. Please don't. It's stupid, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same
There's no
time,
reason for it.
yeah. But at the same time, I won't lift a finger. You know, I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is send it on to an attorney.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad. I know. I want to share this with you, and then I'm gonna have to hop off. I just got the notice that my earbuds are about dead. Um, there is a petition that was emailed to me. It's a private petition. I have not seen it posted anywhere on YouTube or I only have a couple of social media, so I haven't seen it posted yet. But it is an accountability petition for YouTube to hold accountable the people that are doing this kind of stuff. There's I
Mm-hmm.
don't know the person that started it, but there's thousands of signatures that are already on it. I'm going to share it in Discord and then email it to all of you so that you can
Oh
read
yeah.
it and see it for yourself. But there's screenshots, and it was sent to me because someone, and I don't know who, someone had put screenshots of my information and Cody's information, his obituary, all of the stuff for since May that had been gathered about us, and I'll be fair and say 75% of it is false, but there are definitely identifying things in there. My Facebook was shared, and I've had some pretty strange Facebook friend requests and messages and whatnot. But there is a petition going around. There are people that have put together a group of people that are known for doxing. They're known for this type of behavior, and where YouTube has terms of service, but they, for whatever reason, they either take so long to do anything about it, or they flat out fail to do anything about it. Um, it's a direct petition to hold, not to incite any type of punishment or anything like that, but to hold YouTube accountable to their own terms of service and punish the people that are doing it. And I think it's about past time. I can't
Yeah.
imagine some of the people that have their whole lives put out there. I mean, I know what my phone number did, and I know what social my Facebook did. The Facebook is pretty. I only have the Facebook because Cody's Facebook is attached to mine, so I can view comments, and things. People leave stuff on his quite often, so I can view that stuff, and because I like looking through his. Um, but that's the only reason that I have Facebook. I rarely ever post on it. And my phone number is so important to me because it was Cody's phone number. And so at the
Oh,
time.
yeah,
Yeah. So I was so pissed about Bombshell doing that crap, but and she gave it to the right people for sure. But I was so upset because, she knew that that was Cody's number. And a few months after he passed, when it came to, cutting his phone, the contract came up, and it was a decision at that time. It was kind of like not necessarily about the expense, but more about, pushing myself through changing, making changes, and accommodating, to the new life. And so I chose to keep his number so that I could keep his voicemails, his voicemail recording, all this stuff. I was petrified of losing it because I had a really bad incident before that with my own phone when I dropped it when I was at work, and it shattered and I lost everything on it. So when that number got doxed out, I had a week of just shit. But I followed through with reporting it to the right place and the right people, and it stopped. So I'm assuming that, reporting it did the right thing. Um, and I did report Bombshell's um, live stream because she's the one that put it out. She was still live
good.
whenever I reported it. And, I had typed that in Tiffany's chat or somebody's chat. I don't know. Um, I had said, I reported it and I filled out the form and put the timestamps, and all that stuff in there. And then it was immediately taken down. So somebody said, "Did you take it down?" I said, "I don't know if I took it down or not." But I did report it, and as soon as she ended the live, it was gone. So I'm glad for this petition because it's getting out of hand. It's truly getting out of hand. So I'm going to email that to everybody in Discord, probably first thing in the morning before noon, and then everybody can look at it for themselves. But my voice is getting raw. The
Yeah,
allergies are going hard, and I like to do this outside so that nobody can see nothing
yeah,
from where I'm at. My nephew said, make sure that they don't see the stars and stuff because somebody can figure out where you're at. So, but I thank you, Emergency Niece, so much. I love it whenever you come on panel. I love hearing your perspective and your opinions and how things are a lot relatable, even though they're drastically different. And I have a lot of respect
yeah.
for your story, and I know that there's people
Thank
out
you.
there that are definitely affected by what you've gone through, and I love having you up here.
Well,
And for
anytime,
everybody that
and
came in, mhm. Go
anytime,
ahead, Trish.
anytime, truly, anytime that I'm available, I can absolutely come up. Um, and I, I, I'm so proud of you. I can't say it enough. I'm so proud of you. Um, you, you doing this is, I, I don't know if you know how much of a change you're making. You're opening up a door for so many people. It really is important. And, um, I just, I want you to continue. I want you to, you know, keep doing what you're doing because it's, it's pivotal and it's so important, you know. Um,
I
I
appreciate it.
can't say, I can't say how proud I am of you. I'm, you know, I can't wait to learn from you on, how to handle things differently in my profession. Um, I mean, I'm excited, on so many different aspects of it, and to meet so many people, and
Yeah,
to be in
that's what I like the most.
yeah, to be in this community over here to of supporting people, and um, it's that's something that I truly enjoy doing is just being a huge support for all of us because we all are going through something, and having a community of just love and support and true being here for each other is, I think, something that YouTube is really lacking,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a lot of different in every community, I think. And this is something that is desperately needed for so many people. And again, I can't say how proud I am of you. Really, I am.
Well, I thank you so much for that. It was a big decision, but at the same point, I've said it before. I saw the need because everybody, there's so many lurkers that don't have to lurk, but they feel like they have to. I know what it felt like to be in that just the darkest of dark, and I had nobody. And when I look back on it, there's really no place. I mean, there's no place to be raw and vulnerable and open about what you're feeling and what you're going through without the fear of rejection or judgment. And that's to me, in my opinion, I'm not a professional. In my opinion, that is the most important part of of healing when it comes to grief, especially child loss. Having a
Yeah,
voice, being heard, being able to talk freely about what you're feeling and have people understand. So that's I to me that's more important than the negativity. I mean, we have a choice to not partake in the negativity, and I'm going to still choose to not partake in the negativity. I'm not gonna
yeah,
I'm not gonna give it any energy or anything. So
yeah.
that's my plan. I hope that the people who need the support find their way here. And
They
I'm not
will.
planning on going anywhere. I think that anything that any good thing that starts off a little rocky and a little slow, and I kind of like that. It helps me adjust. I get nervous every time I know I'm gonna go on a live stream. It's it's hard to be vulnerable, but my goal was to show people who feel the same way I do or who are struggling the same way that I am that they are normal and what they feel is normal. And the only way to do that is to be raw and unfiltered and show them the ugly side of what it's like. And that's I'm committed to doing that. Just to create the space for conversation and letting people um letting people work their own way through grief, but not shaming them through it. I mean it's big. It's a big issue, and it really hit me in the face when I saw it firsthand. I wasn't face to face
Yeah,
with any of these people, but each name affected me. It's like there's another person that doesn't talk. There's another person that's living inside. It's so much, and and that's heartbreaking. But if we're gonna change the narrative about how people react to grief, and we're gonna open the dialogue and have conversation to make it more acceptable and less scary and taboo, then I'm committed to that. And if that means being a little vulnerable and showing some tears and some snot, well, by God, I'm here for it. I'm gonna do it. I don't want.
and we're here for you.
I'm doing it. So thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough or appreciate you enough
Yep,
for your time tonight. I know it's a lot.
no
And for
problem.
everybody
Well,
that came in,
I'm gonna step down so you can say goodbyes and everything else. I love you and I love everybody. And I'll talk to you guys later.
okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I'm so glad everybody stopped in. I know there's quite a few people um, that watch after the fact. So I just want to say thank you to you guys too. I've sent everybody that has sent me a message, but some of you that have not sent me a message, but have, you know, told about your loss. I want you to know you have an open invitation here. Anytime you're ready, no questions, no judgment, to talk about your loss and about your grief. And we're not just talking child loss, any kind of loss. Um, you have an open invitation. I'm going to put my email in the chat again so that copy and paste it. And I never turn it off. I never silence it or anything like that. I may not reply immediately, but I will, within a couple of hours. If it's urgent, type urgent in the subject line, and I'll definitely get to it immediately. Um, so if there's a need or conversation or anything like that, please don't hesitate. Do not hesitate to contact me. I'm here for it. Um, Emergency Me is a great person. I adore her. Absolutely adore her. She has a lot to share. So thank you, everybody. I'm gonna hop off here. My throat is raw, and I said it was gonna be a short one, and it's 3.5 hours later. So I'll talk to y'all the next time, probably tomorrow or the day after. So thanks. Love everybody. Have a good night.